Trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to mattblattkianj.com for more details. That's mattblattkianj.com.
It's gotta be a
Matt Blatt Kia.
South Jersey's home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
I am the voice of the voiceless.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Blatt Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
2 o'clock on a Tuesday. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill this afternoon on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of CIO. We got a lot of real estate to get to. Of course, the NFL news is hot and heavy this week with free agency officially opening tomorrow at 4 o'clock. But we know that a lot of moves have already been made. A lot of decisions have been made that impact the Eagles, not just on their own roster, but in their own division. So we will get to all of that news and notes coming up throughout the show today. We're talking with John McMullen, JAKIB Media, Eagles and NFL Insider, Football at 4 NFL Insider Adam Caplan from the Inside the Bird podcast. We will touch on all the latest news with them, and we'll review the whole afternoon at 5 o'clock with CBS Sports NFL writer Jeff Kerr. Plus, Phillies are in spring training. They are currently down 4-2 to the Braves in spring training. We'll keep you updated on the Phillies and get to the Phillies mailbag with Frank Klose, a Phillies insider over at 973 ESPN.com. Frank is compiling all the questions and answers for this week's Phillies mailbag. And Sixers are not playing tonight. They're back in action tomorrow. But guess what? Sixers have been en fuego, folks. They have been on fire. So we will get to your Sixers information you need to know with Paul Hudrick coming up at 3:40 today. And as always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 is the text board. You can also DM the show to the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. And this is where I want to start today, because yesterday was a lot of mixed emotions for a lot of people with the way the day played out. On the one hand, if you're an Eagles fan, you look around and you say, you know what? It's great that Jason Kelce's back, but we lost not one, not two, but three starters in free agency in a 6-hour period, basically. Between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. yesterday, the news came out that TJ Edwards felt like he was going to Chicago the second 12 o'clock passed yesterday. Then later, about maybe like 45 minutes later, the Javon Hargrave news came down that he was going to the 49ers. And then around 6 o'clock yesterday, the news came down that Marcus Epps is going to the Raiders. So it was a very mixed emotions day where the only news the Eagles could account for was, hey, Jason Kelce's back and he's taking shots with Howie Roseman, and Brett Toth was re-signed. And I know how fans are. I know how you guys react to things. I talk to you guys often. I see your reactions on social media. I see you guys contributing to the show, DMing the show on the 973 ESPN mobile app. I see you guys texting in at 609-403-0973. I understand your thoughts. Part of what you're thinking is, man, the Eagles have done nothing to start free agency. But see, this is part of the master plan. Because part of the master plan is Howie Roseman does not react. He does not be emotional with things. The Eagles knew that after bringing back Brandon Graham, they had 19 free agents. And I've been telling you guys for days now, if you bring back 9 of the 19, it probably ended up being a good offseason. Listen, I'm being realistic. I'm not going to get up here and be a negative. I'm not going to get up here and be, pie in the sky positive. I'm going to be a realist. Yesterday was a bit of a gut punch because yesterday really felt like it was a negative for this team. And now what's the national media doing? Oh, the window's open in the NFC East. No, it's not. I always tell people I can't judge a roster until it's in training camp. On March 14th, I am not declaring the Eagles dead or alive. I'm declaring the Eagles in progress. And all these people who want to get up there and say, well, Washington better take advantage. Well, Dallas better do something. Well, the Giants, they got money to spend. Don't care. Listen, the Cowboys are always going to make a splashy move. It's who they are. They are more flash than substance. The Giants made the playoffs last year with a pretty mediocre roster. So if you don't think they're going to get better, you're oblivious. You don't understand the real world. And then Washington, listen, those folks got to figure out who want to play in Washington, how that's going to work. Because if I'm looking around at Washington, I see a franchise that's in disarray. I see a franchise that can't get out of their own way. And how many people actually want to play for a franchise that is that lost, dazed, and confused at the top of the organization? I told somebody the other day, I feel bad for Ron Rivera. That dude is a class act. He's doing everything he can to win football games and put the best team on the field possible and have them prepared every week. And instead, this organization just keeps undercutting him. So no, I'm not going to sit here and act like the defending NFC champions are DOA or, oh my goodness, after one day, the offseason is in the books. Because we know for a fact that in the past, when the Eagles have made some of their biggest moves, some of their biggest decisions in years past, it has not been in the first days of free agency. There is nobody who foresaw in March the Eagles getting A.J. Brown during the draft or trading up to get Jordan Davis. We weren't talking about that last year. When the Eagles got Chris Long and then LeGarrette Blount, nobody foresaw either of those moves back in 2017. I'll take it a step further. How many people really thought the Eagles were going to draft Jalen Hurts in 2020? No, you weren't thinking that because most of us were trying to figure out what is going on with this COVID lockdown stuff and trying to keep our sanity through that whole situation and trying to, wash our hands and not get sick. That was our priority in 2020. It wasn't saying, you know what I'm going to predict? I'm going to predict the Eagles draft a quarterback. These are all big moments, free agency, draft, over the last several years that Howie Roseman has done. I had a text that came in yesterday at 609-403-0973. It said, in Howie we trust. Well, I think that we got to continue to have that trust. I see people panicking online. Stop panicking. This is not the time for panic. This is the time for context. Because here's the context. It's looking very much, according to multiple reports today, Diana Rossini is the latest one, Adam Schefter this morning, that apparently the Jets are going after a laundry list of players that Aaron Rodgers wants. So it's looking more and more that Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the New York Jets. And with that understanding, that means that one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league is going to the AFC. And at least one of his top receivers is going with him. And if you believe the reports, he might be joined by Odell Beckham Jr., which means Odell is not going to be in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be in the NFC. The Packers will be a lesser team this coming year, which means the Cowboys don't get Odell. The Packers won't make the playoffs again. And it's one less team for the Eagles to be concerned about. I'm just telling you guys, it's not all doom and gloom for the Eagles. Furthermore, you look at some of the guys who have already signed. Multiple defensive backs came off the market in the last 24 hours. Patrick Peterson went to the Steelers. Von Bell went to the Panthers. Jeremy Bates went to the Falcons. These guys are starting to find landing spots. And you know what happens when guys find landing spots? That means it's one, two, multiple less teams that are going to be available for your free agents to go to. See, I'm not worried about the money they're making because guess what? The salary cap is going up. And it's going to go up every year moving forward. Listen, we are in the post-COVID pandemic NFL where the cap is going up. Money is flying left and right. I'm not concerned that Jeremy Bates got a crazy amount of money to be a safety because you know what? All that means it's one less team pursuing C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Same thing with Von Bell going to the Panthers. Jalen Ramsey gets traded to the Dolphins. One less team to call about Bradbury. Patrick Peterson, he goes to the Steelers. One less team to call about Bradbury. I think that with Hargrave and TJ Edwards both gone, I think there is still a possibility that we're going to see the secondary back. And when Jason Kelce signing a $14 million contract, which he more than deserves, probably less than he probably could have gotten. I mean, does anybody out there disagree with me, Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill, here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, that Jason Kelce's the best center in the NFL? You think the best center in the NFL is just worth $14.25 million? I don't think so. He's probably worth more like $18-20 million. So you're already spending less money for the best center in the league. Frankly, I see almost every team in the league having guys restructuring contracts. I mean, when I saw that Josh Allen agreed to restructure his contract, I was like, all right, Buffalo's serious. I think the only thing I am surprised about right now with the Eagles is that this Darius Slay situation is still lingering out there. I think that's the only thing that I am personally surprised about right now. Because I look around and I see a lot of teams restructuring deals. guys taking contracts that are less than market value. Look at Michael Thomas, who restructured his deal where he gets a 1-year, $10 million contract with incentives up to $15 million. I just mentioned Josh Allen. There are Cam Jordan of the Saints. He restructured his deal. I'm seeing a lot of players restructuring deals, recalibrating contracts. And I'm just curious what the issue is for Darius Big Play Slay with the Eagles. I'm not in those conversations. I don't know what's being said or what is not being said. But I think that there's a way the Eagles can keep Slay and Bradbury and CJ Gardner-Johnson if all three players are serious about staying. And in a market right now where Austin Eckler is all of a sudden out there, and a guy like Calais Campbell got cut by the Ravens, you don't think that the glut in the market with some of these positions is going to manipulate how the market plays out for some of these players? Of course it will. Of course, we will keep you updated throughout the day here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Over on the text board, let's get some of you guys' thoughts over here. 609-403-0973. Croce chimes in and says, early splash free agency moves don't end well. They overpay for players, and then they hurt your team. Last time Eagles did splash moves in free agency, day one, was Chip Kelly. We all know how that ended. It's a great point, Croce, and it's what context is king. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say the Bears are going to be a bad team because of the moves they made. But I certainly can sit here in an honest thought and be transparent with you guys and say the Bears going to the Super Bowl. The Bears are trying to not be bad. Okay? Listen, the Bears have nowhere to go but up. They were one of the worst rosters in the NFL last year. They almost got their quarterback killed. Don't make me think for 1 second that the Bears are going to be champions. But you know what they might be? Might be a playoff contender. Because in a division where the Packers are getting worse, in a conference where Tampa is automatically worse without Tom Brady, in a conference where we don't know what the Arizona Cardinals are going to be, in a conference where the Falcons, they're making some interesting moves, but they're still not actually fixing some of their problems. Jeremy Bates is not going to fix that entire defense. Jonnu Smith is a backup tight end. He's not fixing your offensive line overtly. And if you're telling me that Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ridder are going to lead that team to the promised land, I got some swampland I can sell you in Florida. Or maybe in New Jersey for that matter. The point is that I think the Eagles are going to be all right. David in Violent chimes in at 609-403-0973. She says, I definitely trust in Howie. People need to wait until at least after the draft before they start to worry. I'm more concerned with my household, with my wife being a Niners fan than I am with Howie's moves. That's from David in Violent. Well, listen, David, I hate to tell you this, but it might be Eagles and 49ers facing off in the postseason again this year. So I don't know what you got to do for your in-home harmony, David. I don't know if you got to maybe buy some extra flowers, maybe offer to take her on an extra vacation, maybe a weekend getaway somewhere. I mean, if you need some tips, I can try to help you out. But I hate to tell you it, man, but the Niners are going to be right there with the Eagles next year. Because the Niners' biggest problem has been who's going to play quarterback. And after signing Sam Darnold and knowing who Kyle Shanahan is, Kyle Shanahan made Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard functional quarterbacks. He got to an NFC Championship game with Brock Purdy. You don't think that Sam Darnold, let's say Trey Lance misses at least the first 4 weeks of the season. And let's say Brock Purdy misses the first 8 weeks of the season. You don't think over those 8 weeks, Sam Darnold can at least go 4-4? Of course he can. I'm a big believer that these quarterbacks are only as good as their environment sometimes. And coming out of college, there was a reason why Sam Darnold was so highly rated. It was because he found ways to win at USC, not always with elite talent around him. His final year when he struggled at times, there were bad throws he made, but there also were some amazing throws he made. I don't think Sam Darnold is washed or cooked. I think Darnold has just been in some bad environments. And I think you give him a really good offensive mind, you can be dangerous. Listen, if Ben DiNucci can win three. Sorry, I'm sorry, not Ben DiNucci. Who's the guy who played for the Cowboys last year? Now I'm drawing a blank on his name. Good grief. Now I got to look it up. See, this is what happens when you're getting old, folks. You forget who the Cowboys quarterback who went 3-1 last year was. Backup for Dak Prescott. It's okay. Once I pull it up, I'm going to be mad at myself. Hennig filling in for Mike. Ben DiNucci plays in the XFL now for Seattle, by the way. He wasn't even on the Cowboys, I don't think, last year. Let's see here. Who was the Cowboys' backup quarterback last year? It would help if I looked up the right year, though. Oh, my goodness. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973. Cooper Rush. That was the guy's name. Yeah, if Cooper Rush can go 3-1, I'm sure Sam Darnold will be fine for the 49ers for a few weeks. We got text coming in. Dan and EHT. We'll get your message on the other side. Also, a couple more of your texts as well. Also, your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Shout out to the randos who just texted in Cooper Rush. It was like bang, bang. George DeYang over there with the text just coming in rapid fire there. Cooper Rush, Cooper Rush. Yeah, I named a Cowboys backup quarterback, not the right Cowboys backup quarterback. Just goes to show you, folks, nobody's perfect. Doesn't matter what platform they're on. Sometimes they're just edited to make them sound perfect. Instagram filters? What? All right, still to come. We'll be talking NFL with John McMullen at 3 p.m., Adam Caplan at 4 p.m., Jeff Kerr at 5 p.m., plus the Phillies mailbag with Frank Klose coming up in about 20 minutes from now, and more of the Sixers with Paul Hudrick at 3:40, and your text as well. Josh Hennig hanging out with you for the 4-hour tour here on the Sports Bash. Filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
Are you ready for the madness?
1 second. Got it at the buzzer.
March Madness, starting March 17th, only on 97.3 ESPN.
Keep your old phone and save with Straight Talk Wireless. Requires a compatible unlock phone and KYOP kit. See latest terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Attention car buyers. Matt Blatt Kia has 3 questions. Do you have a current vehicle loan or lease? Do you want a low financing rate? Do you want a new ride? If you've answered yes, then stop what you're doing and get to Matt Blatt Kia today. Because if you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released with 0 down and 2.9% financing for 48 months or no payments for 90 days on every 2023 Kia Forte in stock. Have a job clearing $350 per week? Matt Blatt Kia wants to approve you today. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia with peace of mind with Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 3/31/23. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
This hour brought to you by Xfinity.
Everything is changing so fast. Back in my day, we were lucky if we could get one video to load. But now with the Xfinity 10G network, you can power a house full of devices at once with ultra low lag. The future starts now. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.
3 people you should be 100% certain about: your barber, your plumber, and your tax pro. Switch to Jackson Hewitt and you can be 100% certain about your taxes. We'll get you your maximum refund guaranteed, and we'll back your return for life. Don't be kind of certain or almost certain. Be 100% certain. Switch to Jackson Hewitt today and get 50% off tax prep. Limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Tara, quote, "My doctor wanted me to do saline rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a neti pot. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. There are nights when I'll have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll bust it out, and the results are immediate. It's such a relief. It's become a lifesaver," unquote. She's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
With GMF financing, the qualified buyers excludes Corvette.
It's back! That's right! March Markdown is back at Bennett Chevrolet. And this year, the savings are bigger and better than ever, with huge savings on every vehicle, because we need to move out over 200 of them right now. Believe it or not, Bennett Chevrolet is selling new vehicles at GM supplier employee pricing for everybody. Plus, there's available 0% financing. And Bennett is giving a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunker towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. That's at least 10 grand for total junk. Just imagine how much Bennett is paying for good trades. And Bennett's non-commissioned sales team is a delight to work with because they're paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Don't miss March Markdowns going on now at Bennett Chevrolet, and get your new Chevy at GM supplier employee pricing, 0% available financing, and at least 10 grand for any trade towards any pre-owned in stock. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. Being brought to you by my friends over at Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy, because Jenkins technicians have got you covered. From new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, gas furnaces, leak repairs, and more, just call 609-641-6440 or visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. We'll play with Frank Klose in about 12 minutes from now with the latest from the Phillies mailbag. Phillies, they're losing pretty bad in spring training 7-2, but it is spring training. The wins and losses don't count. Not too worried about the outcome of this game. It's always curious to see with this WBC going on how these players and teams play out. Like Jeff and EHT chimed in about the WBC on the text board. It says, I watched the WBC last night and Turner hit that home run. I was like, man, he is a good player. Totally forgot he was on the Phillies. It slipped my mind. Can't wait to see that lineup when Harper gets back. That's from Jeff and EHT. It's a good point because we've seen both Turner and Kyle Schwarber play well for the U.S. so far in the WBC. And Jeff and EHT is a small reminder of how this Phillies team, they got a legit line. Before Harper returns, adding Turner really feels like the piece that is going to be the difference for this. They didn't have that multi-dimensional hitter at the top of the lineup last year. They had a couple smashers. They had a well-rounded contact hitter, and they had a developing star player. That was their 1 through 4. Kyle Schwarber hit bombs. Reese Hoskins, boomer bust. GT Realmuto, best hitting baseball. Then you had Alex Bohm, who you could argue he was one of the most important players from June to August last year. So now you had Trey Turner then, and then Harper before the All-Star break. I don't think we're going to be as much of a roller coaster ride this year as we were last year. Jeff is right. There's something about seeing those guys perform in that different uniform that says a lot. Wait, David in Violin says his wife said, "Do we even need a quarterback?" Talking about well, she does need a quarterback because guess what? That's part of the reason why you lost the NFC Championship game because you had nobody to play quarterback. Oh my goodness. We'll keep you updated. By the way, according to Tom Pelissaro, I'm just getting this across my screen right now. Apparently, NFL Network and Tom Pelissaro reporting that the New York Giants are sending a 2023 third-round pick to the Raiders in exchange for Darren Waller. That's a big move. That's probably the first big move the Giants are going to make this offseason, put legitimate talent around Daniel Jones. Waller's fascinating because for as talented of a player that he is, he's been injured off and on in the last few years. He had that massive year in 2020 where he was a Pro Bowler and he had 107 catches and he was just a monster. But then the next couple of years, he hasn't been healthy. He played 11 games in 2021 and he played 9 games in 2022. According to Pro Football Reference, that means he's played a total of 20 games the last 2 years. So that's one of those deals where can you get that guy healthy to be an impact player? Because the 2 years from 2019 to 2020, you're talking about a guy that was averaging 98 catches and 6 touchdowns a year. The last 2 years, he's played a total of 20 games. And he's got 5 total touchdowns. So it feels like for the Giants, that's a low risk, high reward bet. I told you guys, I think the Giants are going to get better. I'm not one of these guys who hates the Giants or something. I think the Giants are legitimately going to be back in the playoff conversation next year. The question for the Giants is about how much do they add around Daniel Jones? Can they improve the offensive line a little more? Can they recalibrate the secondary? The secondary wasn't bad last year, but it wasn't great either. So, the Giants are a team that I think surprised a lot of people with how hard they played. And I think that they can't surprise people anymore. And now that they went to the postseason last year, people know that their coaching staff is legit. So again, the Giants are acquiring Darren Waller, according to NFL Network's Tom Pelissero. Adam Schefter is confirming the report, so it's pretty official at this point. Yeah, a third-round pick. So pick number 100 is going to Vegas for Darren Waller. That feels like a buy low situation where you go out and get a guy who he has been injured. He can't get on the field, but you know what? When he's healthy, he's a baller. So I want to get you guys that news when it came down. We'll get back to the text board a little bit later in the hour, 609-403-0973. But next, get a little Phillies talk. Frank Klose has the Phillies mailbag over at 97.3 ESPN.com. And each week, he joins the Sports Bash to talk some Phillies. He joins me next. Josh Hennig, filling for Mike Gill. Thanks for hanging out with me on a Tuesday afternoon. 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
The excitement of a big play.
Scores! The power play goal and a quick wrister.
And all the drama of sports.
Wide open 3-ball. Cashes it in. Harris knocked down a 3. That should do it.
All in one place. 97.3 ESPN.
It's fun to dream big with the New Jersey Lottery. Just remember, life is all about balance. Never treat the lottery as an alternative to work. For more tips, visit njlottery.com/responsible play.
First impressions are lasting impressions, and these days that's more important than ever. Before your potential customer ever sets foot inside your business, calls, or places an item in their online shopping cart, they've checked you out online because that's where commerce happens these days, even if there's a brick and mortar end to it. So when they looked you up, what did they see? Is your website compelling? Does it appear first when someone searches for your product? And does your website make the sort of impression that makes a customer want to engage with your business? Town Square South Jersey is ready to help your business grow. We have the online tools you need, from web design to making sure you show up in online searches. Town Square South Jersey even has the metrics to show how and when people are accessing your website, so you can maximize those first impressions. For a free local customer analysis where you can see how many local customers in South Jersey are looking for businesses like yours, go to townsquarelocal.com. Make your website work for you. Get started at townsquarelocal.com.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Haley, quote, "Navage is the best thing I bought. I love it. My nose feels so clear now and I can breathe. I've been struggling with a stuffy nose for weeks. I bought Navage and it's amazing." Or this one, "I use Navage every night, could not imagine life without it. I have 5 cats, and before I found Navage, I was a clogged mess. Now I breathe so much better," unquote. Those are 2 of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
Do you love a good cigar almost as much as your family? Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can find that perfect cigar at Smoker's Haven. With 5 New Jersey locations, Smoker's Haven has the finest selection of cigars in the area, like Ashton, My Father's, Romeo and Julieta, Monte Cristo, and more. All from the finest tobacco leaves and hand-rolled by the world's finest cigar makers. All locations are fully open. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. See all they have and their locations at smokershavennj.com.
Are you working way too hard for way too little? There's never been a better time to consider a career in IT. You could enjoy a recession-resistant career in a rewarding field with plenty of growth opportunities and often flexible work environments. Go to My Computer Career and take the free career evaluation. You could start your new career in months, not years. Take classes online or on campus, and financial aid is available to qualified students, including the GI Bill. Now is the time. mycomputercareer.edu.
I guess one time isn't going to kill me.
It's totally safe. We do this all the time.
There's no way these drugs are laced, right?
Trust me, you're going to be fine.
I just need to forget everything.
It'll be fine.
A lethal dose of fentanyl is just 4 grains of sand.
It can hide in any drug. So no matter what you and your friends think, what you can't see will kill you. Don't die to get high. Fentanyl is fatal. Get the whole truth at CamdenCounty.com/fentanyl.
Every piece of land has a story. Some right there is behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor, like the Upshaws.
This is my tractor Penny. It's all about attention to detail.
But the Nelsons love cruising around their expansive Montana ranch in their John Deere Gator UV.
We've been here since 1868.
While the Caggianos drive a John Deere zero-turn mower to keep their Long Island brewery looking sharp.
Don't call me, don't bother me. I'm going out to mow for a couple hours.
Run with us and start telling your story. Learn more at johndeere.com/radio.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
It's buyback March at Matt Blatt Nissan. So bring any trade because AJ the trade man wants to buy your vehicle today. AJ pays $500 more than CarMax. So you get more dough for your ride and then drive home in any new Nissan, Altima, Rogue, or Pathfinder with 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, and 0 interest. Or take $5,000 off MSRP on every new Nissan Titan. And only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Have a job clearing $350 per week? We want to approve you today. And AJ wants your trade, but only at MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Rogues, Pathfinder, Ultima. Not all will qualify. Go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Doc 589. Sale price $31,774. Expires 3/31/23. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Get ready for the madness. Coast to coast, got it. March Madness is coming to 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill, Tuesday edition of the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Phillies are in spring training. They're currently down 10-2 to the Braves. Don't forget, no Trey Turner, no Kyle Schwarber, no Garrett Stubbs out there, and more for the Phillies with the WBC going on. So with that in mind, this week's Phillies mailbag, Frank Klose is back, our Phillies insider for 97.3 ESPN.com. He joins us for the latest of your questions on the Phillies. Frank, welcome back in. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, good to talk to you, Josh.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
Well, it's been a while since we talked on the radio.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Before we get to the questions, I want to get this question out to you. Somebody brought up earlier, Jeff in EHC texted the show and said that, seeing guys like Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber out there in the WBC, it's like, oh, wait, that guy plays for my team. What is your take so far been of the WBC?
Actually, I was pleasantly surprised. I think it's got this playoff atmosphere to it. And a lot of major leaguers you're rooting for, a lot of really cool backstories, a lot of players you haven't seen in a long time or playing for their home country. Like Phillies have former Phillies Scott Matheson and Philippe Almont are playing for Team Canada. Remember them?
Philippe Almont, yeah.
Ty Kelly is playing for Israel, and it's really kind of a hoot to see all the different ex-Phillies that are out there, but a lot of their current stars are playing as well. And, for a lot of them playing for their home country, it's a great source of pride. And we see all the talent in some places like the Dominican Republic and Venezuela. And certainly the U.S. is pretty well stacked. And this has actually been pretty fun to watch. The only downside is like watching the NCAA tournament. You can only pick one or two at a time, in the early going, but it's been a lot of fun.
My only beef with it is it kind of feels like the World Cup with all the strange start times. Like it's like all these like there's one game it's at 10 o'clock, another game it's at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm just like I'm completely confused about when some of these games are going on. I'm like double checking the schedule. I'm like, wait, the U.S. is playing Great Britain when, and Venezuela is playing Cuba when? I think the schedule is a little too World Cup-y for me, at least.
Well, that's kind of what they're going for, right? They want this to sort of be the World Cup of baseball because, of course, its origins were when baseball was taken out of the Summer Olympic Games. Right. They created this, but baseball's back in the Summer Olympics, but this was too good to give up.
Yeah, it's also being done not in the middle of the summer, which is probably appetizing to some people as well. Frank, let's get to the mailbag over at 97.3 ESPN.com. Frank answers your questions each week. You can follow him on Twitter at Frank Klose. Let's start with the most infamous of all the questions, Frank. John wants to know, is Scott Kingery for real this time? And I'll just add on to it. Is Scott Kingery not just for real? Is what we seeing of Scott Kingery real? Like, can we take what we're seeing in spring training and really apply it to what that guy can be moving forward?
Well, let's remember he was being compared to the likes of Dustin Pedroia back when he was coming up. So I think we need to kind of rein this question in a little bit and say, well, is he for real in the sense of he's going to be a superstar, or for real in the sense that he might be a bench bat on this Phillies team? Well, I think he might be a bench bat on this Phillies team. I think that's kind of the ceiling you're hoping for at this point. And, when you look at his numbers are very good, hitting well over 400 this spring. Finally, he has a home run, 471. He's got a home run. He's got a 1.161 OPS. The stats look really good. But when it comes down to whether or not I think he can make the team, I think it's a matter of investment here. So, and when I say investment, I'm not talking about the $24 million Matt Klentak gave him 5.5 years ago. I think that this is an investment in Scott Kingery, the player, made by Kevin Long this offseason. The two of them worked out together in Arizona over the offseason. And you know what? If Kevin Long, who's been known for fixing hitters, he got credit for kind of fixing, quote-unquote, Kyle Schwarber's swing and gave him that rebirth with the Washington Nationals. If Kevin Long, the 4 times to the World Series hitting coach, spends that much time on Scott Kingery, I got to believe that Kevin Long sees something in him. And I think if the Phillies go to Kevin Long and say, hey, what do you think? Should he be on our roster? Kevin Long's answer is going to carry a lot of weight. So if Kevin Long thinks that answer is yes, I think he'll be on this roster. The Phillies want, and they've said they wanted, a right-handed bat that can back up center field. They don't really have that. They threw Edmundo Sosa out there once and only once, but Edmundo Sosa is probably going to play a lot of third base and second base, as the time goes on. So to me, I think he's got a real shot to make this Phillies team, and I think, hey, if he's on the roster and he's hitting more, he's going to play more because it's baseball and it's results driven. I don't want to call him the real deal, as in he will be a Dustin Pedroia, but can he make this team? I think he's got a real shot.
Well, let me change the expectation then. I know a lot of Philly fans were, I'll call it, unhappy when Nick Maton was sent away. Can Scott Kingery be Nick Maton-esque for this team?
Yeah, they're different in the sense that Maton's probably got a little bit more upside in him, I think. For me, Maton was the biggest player among the three in that trade for Gregory Soto. I think Maton could be a starter in the major leagues with a little bit of pop. I really liked what I saw out of Maton. But yeah, I think comparing the two, I'd love to have a righty and a lefty that can do that kind of thing. But I think that kind of puts them in a different category with the upside. I think we're beyond the point where you could say that Scott Kingery has a shot to be a starter in the major leagues. Maton, I think he's got a shot, and he's going to play a lot for the Tigers, and he's going to be able to determine whether he can. But for someone like Kingery at this point, I think he's just looking at being a bench piece. And then who knows, if he's a free agent this offseason, he might sign with a team where he knows he has an opportunity, a rebuilding team perhaps, and tries to latch on there. But I think at this point, the upside is all on Maton if you're just comparing the two.
Going through the Phillies mailbag each week over at 97.3 ESPN.com with our Phillies insider, Frank Klose. That's Frank Klose with a K on Twitter. Frank, let's get Dan's question over on the says, if Andrew Painter is out and Bailey Falter struggles, is there another starting option? Frank, I got to admit, this is probably one of the biggest questions I personally hear from Philly fans when I run into them. They always ask me, who's the fifth starter? Because a lot of people have a lot of expectations, probably unfairly, on Andrew Painter.
Yeah, I always kind of thought that it was still somewhat of a long shot that Andrew Painter makes the team out of camp. I don't think that even if he wasn't perhaps facing a tough injury situation like he is now, you didn't want to put a full year's load on that arm this year. So I didn't know if they would bring him out of the gate for that reason, so that they could have him down the stretch in October. Now, by the way, some good news that we saw on there, the type of tear he has, 17 out of the 19 last players. Jeff Passan pointed to a peer-reviewed study, like this is like a real medical article, but 17 out of 19 were able to avoid surgery. So if he does heal with rest, it can help you down the stretch. That's kind of a bonus, in my opinion. You really hope he can avoid surgery, but he certainly takes away from your depth, which is a concern. Now, Bailey Falter did a nice job last year jumping in when Zach Wheeler got hurt and gave them some really serviceable starts. Can he do that again? I mean, I think he might pitch like a fifth starter. But beyond that, it's a little bit of a worry for me. I think the next best candidate is Michael Plasmeyer, who has not given up a run this spring in 7 innings, though his walks might be a little bit concerning. But Plasmeyer filled in a couple times last year, did okay. But I don't think you want Plasmeyer and Falter in your rotation long term, with a little forearm stiffness that Ranger Suarez has. Then you start to think, oh no, well, there's not a whole lot of depth here. So I don't, Christopher Sanchez finally got his first start today. They were using him in 1-inning shots out of the bullpen. He did not do well today. Gave up 4 runs in that first inning, put the Phillies in a hole. And by the way, that lopsided score, most of the pitchers are not making this Phillies team this year. So you don't worry about that too much. But Sanchez did not look that great. He's probably your next best option on the list. And then beyond that, they were saying Nick Nelson had a chance to be a starter. They've only been using him in relief opportunities. I don't see them stretching him out for that. You might want to look out the organization. Mike Minor, free agent. Maybe if you'll take a minor league deal, you bring him in and see what he can do.
You mentioned Nick Nelson really quick before I get to the next question with you, Frank. Is Nelson a guy that maybe you could make into one of those like opener starters where he goes like 2-3 innings and have a bullpen game here and there, maybe to spread out the rotation?
I don't like that at all, because then you kind of wear out your bullpen, and then your arms are all tired, and then you don't want to use them more days in a row. That's the problem with not having the depth, because if you go down to the minor leagues and you get a Christopher Sanchez and he blows up after an inning like today, and then all of a sudden your bullpen shot for the day, and that has a trickle down effect 2-3 days, sometimes 4 down the line, and that's what I worry about from that situation. So Mike Minor, Phillies have been interested in him in the past. I might see what he's up to. If he doesn't get a major league deal, say, hey, how about you come to our extended spring training, show us what you can do. Maybe he can land a spot. I don't know. Maybe he can't, but there's not a lot of options out there as free agents right now.
I want to get this question in from the text board for you, Frank, at 609-403-0973. Dan in EHT wants to know, he said, can you ask Frank Klose about Nick Castellanos? If Castellanos struggles again, should the Phillies try to trade him at the deadline?
Well, Nick Castellanos, it's funny. I recorded my newest Powder Blue podcast with Jeff Mosher this morning, and he was all worried about Nick Castellanos. Well, he hit a big home run in the first inning today and showed some opposite field power. So that's pretty good. Now, I did not like to overreact. What I told Jeff this morning, and you can check it out on Powder Blue Podcast, anywhere you listen to podcasts. What I told Jeff was, I'm not worried yet. Check back with me in 2 weeks to see if Castellanos is still struggling. But even then, you know what? I'm not as worried about him as other people. Sometimes guys have a down year. Sometimes the pressure of a new contract gets to you. But my guess is either 2 things are going to happen. One, he's going to be performing well, and he is going to make you happy. Or if he's not performing well, who's going to trade for him? So I think you're kind of hoping that he does rebound. So I think things are looking okay. He showed that power today. He had another big home run. Of course, it was like 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago at this point. I want to let him get some more at bats, let him get comfortable. I feel like with Trey Turner coming in, then the amount of pressure on him might be lessened. I think he will be okay. He's been too good over the years not to be okay.
Give him a follow on Twitter at Frank Klose with a K. Of course, you can check out his full Phillies mailbag over at 973ESPN.com. He takes your questions each and every week. I felt like you got like a gazillion Twitter questions. You just kind of ran out of you got to ran out of real estate at a certain point.
Yeah, I did. Well, I was spending too long on them, so I can't answer them all. But I do remember them. I do save them. So if I didn't get to you today, I will get to you probably next week.
Who knows? Maybe there's a mailbag part 2 coming on Friday or something.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, let me know. I'm around.
Frank, always appreciate you jumping on. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Yes, you can get the mailbag on the app or at 97.3ESPN.com. As Frank said, the Phillies are losing 10-2, but most of those pitchers will not be pitching in the majors anyway for the Phillies this year, so don't sweat the score. Even though Alec Bohm just, it's a catch. It looked like good contact off the bat. By the way, what is up with the dude who takes 10 million years to throw the ball into the crowd? Like, the inning is over, just throw the ball. What are you looking for? See, you got 20 seconds in between pitches. Look around. If you have an idea, ball comes to me, I'm going to throw it to a kid. Why are you taking 10 seconds to throw the ball into the crowd? Come on. All right, coming up next, we'll get back to the football. The Giants just made a big trade. State of the NFC East, John McMullen, next on the Sports Bash, 97.3.
Here's what you missed on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
What's your go-to on the pancake? Plain, strawberry, banana?
I'm more of a regular. I'm more of a regular short stack. I might flirt with like a banana pancake, strawberry pancakes every once in a while.
I think that might be too sweet. Blueberry pancakes is probably You're
a blueberry guy?
Yeah, I'm a blueberry guy because the bananas are always too sweet for some reason. And then strawberries fine, but the blueberries when they're in the cake, not just on top, fire. Pancakes is fire, man.
I got a pancake. Give me the short stack alone. I don't need anything else.
And I'm a ham steak guy opposed to a bacon because the bacon at IHOP is like
a little undercooked something.
Oh, it's paper thin. It's just
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN. Brought to you by
Ocean Casino Resort. Get your game on at the Gallery Bar Book and Game in Ocean Casino Resort. Visit theoceanac.com. Imagine all the possibilities of a $229 million Mega Millions win. You could buy your forever home, buy a new luxury car, plus one for all your friends and family. It's just that many millions. Anything can happen in Jersey. Do you love a good cigar almost as much as your family? Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can find that perfect cigar at Smokers Haven. With 5 New Jersey locations, Smokers Haven has the finest selection of cigars in the area, like Ashton, My Father's, Romeo and Julieta, Monte Cristo, and more. All from the finest tobacco leaves and hand-rolled by the world's finest cigar makers. All locations are fully open. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. See all they have and their locations at smokershavennj.com.
Searching for fun ways to spend your tax return? Boats for cats. Oh, flotation devices for cats. Don't waste it all on something silly. Spend smarter with Straight Talk. Get our Silver Unlimited plan for $45 a month with unlimited high-speed data and with nationwide 5G. Plus, get a Samsung A13 5G for only $99.99, down from $149. If you're looking to get the most out of your refund, your search ends here. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See latest terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
You know, it's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our healthcare. No doubt. This is why so many people are joining MediShare right now. MediShare is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly healthcare costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. MediShare can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. And MediShare is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that's worked beautifully for 27 years. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second. And if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
Get ready because Scott's is taking over daylight saving time. It's such a big event that we're calling it day-long saving time. And now it's got real savings. In fact, it's the biggest deals of the year. Audacious? Absolutely. So don't wait. Stock up early and you'll be able to save up to $20 on Scott's Triple Action and Easy Seed products today at the Home Depot and Lowe's. Offers available March 9th through 22nd at select U.S. stores while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See See store for exact offers.
If you have an IRA or 401k, please listen closely. My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. Throughout my career, let's just say I've been in some hairy situations. And I believe right now the biggest threat facing Americans is they need to protect their wealth, which is exactly what I'm doing for my wife and 6 kids. And I believe the ultimate safe haven is physical gold and silver. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. The folks I use are Advantage Gold, and believe me, I've investigated the heck out of all types of people. Advantage Gold is the nation's highest-rated gold company. They have the best process, pricing, and service. If you want to get your free gold and silver investment kit, please contact Advantage Gold right now, and you'll see how easy it is to protect yourself with precious metals. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
Hi, honey. Happy first day back at work. Can't wait to see you tonight. We are so proud of you. Daddy, we love you.
There are many reasons to start recovery. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, we are here to help. Call us. Our trained counselors are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help. Your recovery is within reach. Call 844-REACH-MJ to learn about medication that can support your recovery. A message from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Tuesday edition of the Sports Bash. 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. You know, the NFL never sleeps. News just keeps popping off left and right. So, to get more into what we have heard, well, since the last time we heard from John McMullen yesterday, we'll talk to him right now. JAKIB Media Birds 365. He joins us here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN at JF McMullen on Twitter. John, welcome in. How you doing?
Doing well. Trying to avoid the wind. It's windy, Josh.
Yeah, it's gusting a little bit out there. Apparently, there's a wind advisory until I think 1 o'clock tomorrow, I believe it is. So,
yeah, it's crazy.
So let's get to the Eagles stuff first. You know, obviously, yesterday we knew that guys were going to sign, but when we spoke to you yesterday, when Mike Gill spoke to you yesterday, the Marcus Epps news hadn't come down yet. Were you surprised at all by the number that he got, or were you surprised at all about the number of safeties that already got picked off the market just in the last 24 hours?
No, I'm a little surprised, obviously, from the Eagles' perspective. I think, it was assumed that Javon Hargrave would go pretty quickly, and he did, obviously, at a big number. And CJ would be the other one. And so that part was a positive in the fact that, maybe the number wasn't going to reach what we originally thought it was going to reach. And then the other guys, TJ Edwards is the one player who I looked at and I said, I thought he was going to get more than that. And he was the first to go. I think it was 16 minutes in. And then when the contract numbers kind of rolled in, you said to yourself, well, the Eagles just don't care about all it's another, we already knew that, but it was another sort of explanation point. If you're ever going to pay a guy, we're not talking about top of the line money. We're talking mid-level contract. And they undrafted kid, they developed him. And I said to myself, that's the kind of player organizations brag about. Like, look who we found, look what we did. And the Eagles are like, nah, we don't want to pay him. We don't want to pay him. So that it was the small surprise, I would say, for the Eagles.
John, I have been telling people, and I don't know if this is the most accurate representation, but you cover the team. I just talk about it. I told people that there's 19 free agents. The Eagles keep 9 of those 19. The fans should be happy. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, yes, I would say. I'm trying to think in my head. I mean, Howie's been pretty honest, and for the people listening, the last 2 times he spoke on the record, he said, we're going to lose free agents, so be prepared. And we're going to get compensatory picks in 2024. So that's part of the plan. It's always, the Eagles tend to be a smart organization. It's always about more than 1 year, certainly about more than 1 or 2 days. So, yeah, I mean, they knew they were going to lose significant players, more importantly than the number. Like if Zach Pascal comes back down the line or Boston Scott comes back down the line, I that's not going to move the needle. So I think the bigger names were obviously Hargrave and CJ and Bradbury. And I think to a certain degree, people are disappointed when players like that leave. But they got to be realistic.
Now that both Hargrave, Edwards, and Epps are gone, you just used the word realistic, John. What is realistic concerning the prospects of CJ Gardner-Johnson and James Bradbury moving forward?
Well, I think the longer they're out there, the more realistic it becomes, because that to me is an indication that the market is not there. If the market was there, like Javon got a huge deal, he signed. I mean, that's what happens. In indication that, especially in CJ's case, because of his age and everything else, I think there was a pretty clear thought process from people who followed the league that he was going to get, somewhere $13-14 million. And I didn't think the Eagles would go that high. It looks like he's not going to get that. And I thought there was a chance he wouldn't get that. And I think we're at that. And, there's a possibility. I had Marcus Hayes on my show this morning, and he said maybe he's got more than one offer. Maybe he's mulling them over, which I guess is a possibility. But I think the longer it goes, the better it is for the Eagles in the efforts to try to get him back.
Of those 2 guys I just mentioned, do you think the Eagles have a preference of those 2, or do you think it's pretty even Stevens?
No, I think they have a preference, because I think their assumption going in was they were going to lose one safety and one corner. And I still think Darius Slay is going to be back ultimately with some kind of redone deal. We'll see if they can come to a compromise. Obviously, he wants an extension. The Eagles just want to move money around because of his age, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I think, when they were formulating this, they kind of knew they were going to lose certain players, and, they had guys in position. They thought they were going to lose and probably will lose Isaac Sayamalo. But you have Cam Jurgens to fit in there. With Hargrave, they had a good indication they weren't going to be able to match. You have Milton Williams there. You have Reed Blankenship at safety. So I think they, Nakobe Dean, a linebacker, they understood and had sort of heir apparents in place at certain positions. But it was sort of one safety and one corner, and they don't have a corner in place, but, there's a lot of talk that they can get one in the draft. So I think that was ultimately sort of the plan, to lose one of each.
So with John McMullen, Birds 365, every morning on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel, covers the Eagles and the NFL. John, news related to the Eagles is the Giants trade that just went down this afternoon. The Giants trading a third-round pick for Darren Waller. John, I mentioned before you came on the last hour that, the thing with Waller is he's only played 20 games the last 2 years. But the 2 years before the last 2 years, he was an absolute monster. So do you think the Giants are hoping to get maybe a healthier Waller, but maybe not like peak Waller here?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The injury issues have started to pile up, and he's not terribly old, but when those things start to happen, it generally doesn't go back into a positive direction. You can cross your fingers and say, he's going to stay healthy. And I think, as you mentioned, he would put up tremendous numbers a couple of years ago. But I think if you're counting on that, it's probably not a good way to go about it. It is, a big name, and people see it and they go, "Ooh, Darren Waller," but he hasn't been Darren Waller for a couple of years. Right. So it's, on one hand, again, if you want to project it, glass is half empty. You say there's a really athletic, talented tight end, and we're just talking about all the Eagles' problems really up the middle of the field. Losing T.J. Edwards, Kaiser White's still out there, Marcus Epps is gone, C.J. still out there. So that's right up the middle of the field, guys who got to deal with tight ends, and you start thinking about, oh, Darren Waller's in the division now. So that's the glass is half empty. The glass is half full. Is maybe Nakobe Dean is what the Eagles think he is. Maybe Reed Blankenship in that short sample size is a good player, and maybe Darren Waller isn't Darren Waller anymore.
Well, we know Josh Jacobs is not happy. He put on Twitter, "This is bleeping sad for real," he said on Twitter. And I guess this is the wedding gift, because just last week he got married to Kelsey Plum, the WNBA player. So the Raiders' gift to Darren Waller was get out of town, go to New York, I guess.
Yeah, that's rough. He did, yeah. And Kelsey plays out there too, yeah. So it's a tough sport, but they make a lot of money, so they can travel back and forth. So
I think they can afford the air travel. I think they can afford it.
Yeah, he'll be fine. Although McCarran, it's not a fine airport, so but he'll be fine. He can get things done.
Yeah, he can get a charter flight or something somewhere else.
Yeah, I it's and football is obviously a lot of players, especially in say Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago. A lot of guys play in one city and live in another. Even here in Philadelphia, a ton of guys are obviously out and live in the South and with the better weather, and that's what you can do when you're rich. So, it helps out.
Speaking of the AFC West and how it can relate to the Eagles, this Austin Eckler news, him trying to force his way out of the Chargers organization. How does Eckler impact a running back market that still has a guy like Miles Sanders out there?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think Miles is going to get a lot of money. And, part of it is just the depression of the market as a whole. But I think he's also in a position where he hasn't really proven himself as a pass receiver, as a pass protector, and I think a lot of teams have seen a large sample size. So it's difficult to give a lot of money to sort of a one-dimensional player. And Miles is a good runner, but he hasn't proven he's well-rounded. And once you get past the teams willing to pay running backs, which aren't a lot and seem to get smaller every year, and most of them, franchise tags, right? You talked about Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard in Dallas, Saquon Barkley with the Giants. I don't see a lot of teams out there. Minnesota's trying to trade Dalvin Cook, who would be, more valuable on the open market. Now you have the Chargers with Austin Eckler. Same thing. I think it's going to be difficult for Miles. And maybe that helps the Eagles get him back if they want him back. And I don't even know if they want him back, to be honest.
John, that's my thing. I don't know if they want him because he was barely used in the biggest game of the year, the Super Bowl. This organization is not exactly been that excited about like his role in the offense. I mean, there's so many times that we've seen Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott in situations where you could have used Miles Sanders in the last couple of years.
Well, I think there's a little bit of a disconnect. I think Nick does like Miles a lot, and I'm not sure how he does any longer, and would probably go in a different direction. I think if you left it up to Nick, he'd probably say, yeah, bring him back. But it's Howie's decision at the end of the day. And ultimately, I think the Eagles are probably going to draft a running back. And it's a very deep class for two reasons. More so for the cost-effective nature of it. They don't want to give Miles a raise. Now, if the market's so depressed, he's willing to come back on, 1 year for $3 million or something like that. Maybe they revisit it, but it would really have to bottom out by that point.
John, speaking of the running back position, is there a free agent right now that you could foresee the Eagles walking away with? Because we know in the past, this team has landed a lot of important players not in the first week of free agency. Guys in the past like Chris Long, like Garrett Blunt, trading for A.J. Brown. All those moves came weeks after this team, quote unquote, was quiet in free agency. By the way, I should just be a running back. I literally just came across my feed. Ian Rappaport is reporting the Eagles are signing Rashad Penny.
There we go. And that's a nice little signing, and that's an indicate Miles is not coming back. That will close the door. Talented, player, explosive runner when he's healthy. I thought they would wait to the draft, to be honest, because the draft is so deep at running back. I think they just watched Kansas City sort of do it with Isaiah Pacheco as a 7th round pick, and they proved they could win a Super Bowl with him, and he was very effective. I thought the Eagles would go that route, but that's a name that I had put out before, and that would be a positive way to go. I think from a talent perspective, I think that's a potential upgrade. And I think, that's the kind of signing that the Eagles do well, and it makes a lot of sense. But that's probably a clear indication, not probably. I mean, that is a clear indication Miles is not going to be back.
Rashad Penny is built like a bowling ball. He's about 5'10", 5'11", 220 something. Hasn't always been healthy though. So is this one of those, John, you say, hey, we don't have to spend a lot of money on a guy that if he's healthy, great. If he's not, we have other options?
Well, I mean, they like the committee approach, and Kenny Gainwell is going to be here, and we'll see if they get Boston back. That would be probably a 1-year deal at the minimum, and they like him. So there is some depth there. Trey Sermon's here. They took a flyer on him last year, and he'll get a full training camp. So, yeah, but obviously their plan is going to be Penny's going to be the lead back, and Kenny Gainwell's going to fit into the role that he's had as the third down back and the hurry up back. And, essentially he's going to be here to replace Miles Sanders. Is that an upgrade? Miles had a very good season last year as a runner. He didn't play well in the Super Bowl like a lot of people didn't, but he got hurt on that first play, remember, hurt his hand. So that was part of it. And I do think when people say about the defense and Miles not playing well in the Super Bowl, in the case of the defense, obviously the second half, I think people forget they were in the Super Bowl There's something, it takes something to get to the Super Bowl. Is it disappointing that certain guys didn't play well in the Super Bowl? Of course, but they were in the Super Bowl. So even though, it's going to end here with Miles, he had a very good season. And I think people need to acknowledge that as well.
But if those are wondering why Penny only played a handful of games last year, he had a broken fibula, which he sustained in week 5. So John, I'm no doctor, but I'm assuming that week 5 of the NFL season, that should be enough time for him to be ready for training camp. I think it's a safe assumption, right?
Yeah. And he has, it's always a concern at that particular position. I mean, that, people would criticize Miles for the first 3 years of his career for missing, a couple games, 2-3 games here each year. So it is a position that takes pounding, and that's why you need multiple bodies. And the Eagles are definitely taking a bit of a risk, but I think they've wanted, and I certainly think, again, I think it's more from Howie's perspective. They want a more decisive runner, a more north-south runner, a guy's going to hit the hole and get what's blocked. And I think Penny is that type of back when he's healthy. We'll see if he can stay healthy.
Well, his best season was 2 years ago when he played in 10 games, 6 rushing touchdowns, and he averaged a league high 6.3 yards per attempt. So when he's healthy, he is that downhill productive runner. And well, let's just say that the Eagles offensive line is better than Seattle's, right?
Yeah. And that's part of it. I mean, there's, and that's one of the reasons why the Eagles don't want to pay a lot of money at that particular position, because they think, and I think they're right, most competent backs are going to be pretty successful, not only behind that offensive line, but with Jalen Hurts as well, because he adds so much to the running game. So he helps the running backs because the defense has to pay so much attention to him in the zone read RPO game. So he helps the running backs as well.
He's John McMullen. He'll have more about this tomorrow morning on Bird 365 on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Follow him on Twitter at JF McMullen, as the Eagles have signed Rashad Penny to be their new running back. The Miles Sanders era looks to be over. John, it's always fun when we can break news live on the radio with you.
It's always great. It usually happens 5 minutes after I get off my show. So at least it was on the show.
John, take care. We'll talk tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
Josh Hennig here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, the news that came down just moments ago, if you did not hear, Rashad Penny will be a Philadelphia Eagle next season. I haven't seen anything about the contract details. The only thing I've seen, a couple sources are speculating it's a 1-year deal. But hey, Rashad Penny, when healthy, as we said earlier, he's a bowling ball. He's a downhill runner. He's a guy who hits the hole, hits it hard. And if that is the kind of guy that this organization can maybe recalibrate the running game, not rebuild the running game, but recalibrate. One of the problems for the Eagles last year was the fact that Jalen Hurts had to do that quarterback sneak so often. He was the they were 3rd and 2, 4 and 2 situations where they were shoving Jalen Hurts across that line. Maybe Penny can take some of that pressure off of your quarterback and say, hey, hand the ball to him instead of asking your quarterback to sneak it every single time. Now, the question is, can Penny stay healthy? That's the concern. He's never played more than 10 games in the NFL. And for those who may forget, Rashad Penny was an incredible college player at San Diego State. People forget that this guy, he was incredible for a 2-year period in college. His final 2 years in college, he had a total over those 2 years of 34 rushing touchdowns. So, this is a guy who's productive. He has shown you when he's healthy, he is very productive. He is like I said, he's a bowling ball. He's a big, big guy, 5'10", 5'11". I mean, they list him at 220, but I think he's probably closer to like 225. Just the thick build of his body. So if he can stay healthy, pretty interesting pickup for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll ask more about the Rashad Penny news to Adam Caplan coming up at Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. And of course, coming up 15 minutes, we'll talk Sixers basketball. Sixers back in action tomorrow night here on 97.3 ESPN. Tonight on 97.3 ESPN, the first 2 games of the NCAA tournament coverage begins at 6:30.
The madness is coming. March Madness begins March 17th on 97.3 ESPN.
With Jackson Hewitt, be 100% certain about your taxes and get 50% off tax prep. 50% is a limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
Attention car buyers. Matt Blatt Kia has 3 questions. Do you have a current vehicle loan or lease? Do you want a low financing rate? Do you want a new ride? If you've answered yes, then stop what you're doing and get to Matt Blatt Kia today. Because if you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released with 0 down and 2.9% financing for 48 months or no payments for 90 days on every 2023 Kia Forte in stock. Have a job clearing $350 per week? Matt Blatt Kia wants to approve you today. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia with peace of mind with Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 3/31/23. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Hi. Who's this?
Buzz. He appears whenever you eat Honey Nut Cheerios.
Like a genie?
Sure.
Ooh, does he grant wishes? I wish I lived in a giant boot. No, I wish I could swim with a humpback whale. No.
I can grant you a delicious bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios, which can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
Ooh, with heart shapes, too.
Happy heart-shaped Cheerios are back for a limited time. Pick up a box of Honey Nut Cheerios at your local store for an easy, delicious, and heart-healthy start to your day.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
O'Reilly.
Cleaning your fuel system can help your engine run better and improve gas mileage. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts and pick up a bottle of Chevron Techron Fuel System Cleaner. On sale now. Buy one, get one free. Plus get 2 times O Rewards points. Get more fuel-saving tips from the professional parts people at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
A good work partner knows what you need before you need it. That's how it feels when you work with Cintas. Your dedicated Cintas service reps get to know your business and have the industry knowledge that can help you prepare for what's ahead. They'll deliver your team's workwear freshly laundered.
The Philadelphia Eagles are signing running back Rashad Penny. The Philadelphia Eagles have found a new running back for next season. Rashad Penny will be joining the Eagles. He spent the last few seasons in Seattle. His last healthy season was in 2021 when he led the NFL with 6.3 yards per attempt. He is currently recovering from a broken fibula he sustained in week 5 of last season.
and at least 10 grand for any trade towards any pre-owned in stock. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
ESPN FM. In the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Yes, the news that just came down. Rashad Penny just getting some instant reaction on the text board, 609-403-0973. Different responses coming in on the news. John and Kate May says Rashad Penny is a stud and home run hitter, and Sanders was not. I'm stoked. Let's go. With 3 exclamation points from John and Kate May. You know, John, it's interesting because, you're right. Penny is a stud, but he's got to be healthy. And the problem is that he hasn't played a lot of games in his NFL career. Miles Sanders actually, I got to compare the numbers. I believe Miles Sanders is actually played in more games over the last couple of years. Let's see here. Sanders, so I'm going to go the last 3 years. Sanders, see here. Sanders has played in 17 games last year, 24. 24 plus 17 is that's 41 off the top of my head. So he's played in 41 games over the last 3 years as Miles Sanders. Okay. By comparison, Todd Penny over the last 3 seasons has played a total of 18 games. So 41 games, 18 games. Again, I understand the perception of Penny is, hey, this guy is a big, powerful back. He runs downhill. But the last 3 seasons, Penny has played 18 games. The last 3 seasons, Miles Sanders has played 41 games. That's a huge difference. It feels like a low cost, high reward kind of deal. So, Penny's coming off an injury in week 5 last year. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how he bounces back from that injury. Is he 100% day one at training camp? Is it one of those needs to be ramped up before the season? We'll find out. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0970 says, I'm actually sad to see Miles Sanders go, but I understand we'll hook up a good team. There's speculation that Sanders could actually join the Buffalo Bills out there. I don't know how legitimate that reporting is, but I do know that Penny's a guy that you don't have to spend a lot of money on. He's a guy that Rashad Penny is a guy that if he stays healthy, you get a big reward out of him. Okay, when he has been healthy, his 2 best years, he played 10 games a couple years ago. Like I said, led the league in yards per attempt, 6.6. His last 2 healthy years before that, he had played in 14 games, 2 rushing touchdowns in a timeshare situation. Next year, he played 10 games, 3 touchdowns, again, a timeshare situation. Well, the Eagles like timeshare. So I think the Eagles are basically buying low on a guy who has a lot of potential because his first few years in Seattle, he was behind Chris Carson. People forget Chris Carson, before all the injuries started piling up, was a very good running back in this team. And Penny was his backup. And if you go back to the year that Penny led the NFL in yards per attempt, 6.3, those 10 games he had that year, he actually led Seattle in rushing. That was the year where Carson wasn't healthy at all. Alex Collins had a mediocre season. They kept rolling in different running backs. That was the Travis Warner, DJ Dallas year. So Penny has been productive. Key is he's got to be healthy. And there's no guarantee that he is healthy. So I will be interested to see what kind of production they can get out of a guy coming off of a broken fibula. So I mentioned it about 10 minutes ago. To me, I look at this move as listen, we're already going in the year with Gainwell. We hope to bring back Boston Scott, and maybe a guy like Penny can compete with a Trey Sermon for that power back role. More on the Eagles coming up. Football at 4, powered by the Insider Birds podcast with NFL insider Adam Caplan. Coming up next, we'll transition to the Sixers, who return to the court tomorrow night. The Sixers have been en fuego, but is it as simple as one specific reason why they've been so good? We'll get that next with Paul Hudrick from Liberty Ballers right here with me, Josh Hennig, filling for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
There's never an off season for the NFL. It's football at 4 every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Imagine all the possibilities of a $229 million Mega Millions win. You could buy your forever home, buy a new luxury car, plus one for all your friends and family. It's just that many millions. Anything can happen in Jersey.
Your luxury BMW experience is closer than you think. Take advantage of exceptional savings at BMW of Atlantic City. Stop in and shop your favorite models, including the new BMW 2 Series, X3, and more. We're sure to have a vehicle that fits your needs. And with Acceleride, purchase your vehicle online and we'll deliver it directly to you. Looking to trade? We'll pay top dollar for your current vehicle. Experience luxury today at BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think, in Egg Harbor Township. Shop our complete inventory online at bmwatlanticcity.com.
You're invited to enjoy 50% off your purchase during the semi-annual Friends and Family event, only at Banana Republic Factory. Shop this week only for limited time prices at your nearest Banana Republic Factory store or online.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Josh, quote, "After walking around my whole life being a mouth breather, I was excited to try Navage. I read the directions carefully, pressed the button, and oh my gosh, what a sensation. So much mucus, so much crud, but oh sweet, merciful air, I can finally breathe you through my nose. Never have I ever taken such an amazing breath in my life. This is a life changer," unquote. He's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Spring is already in the air, and Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning has you covered in every season. Join their family comfort plan today for as little as $14 a month to get priority scheduling, same-day service, and savings on your spring maintenance. Need a high-efficiency HVAC system or water heater? Schedule a free no-obligation estimate and ask us how you can save big on energy-efficient upgrades through South Jersey Gas and Atlantic City Electric's 0% financing programs for up to $15,000. Consider upgrading your tanked water heater to a Navian tankless one that provides endless hot water for you and your family. Act now to take advantage of financing offers and utility rebates up to $1,500. Plus, tax credits are available on select equipment, including heat pumps, ductless mini split systems, and air conditioners. Call Broadlee's, your local factory authorized Bryant dealer, and your trusted source for generations at 609-390-3907 or visit broadlees.net. Bryant, whatever it takes.
If you have an IRA or 401k, please listen closely. My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. Throughout my career, let's just say I've been in some hairy situations. And I believe right now the biggest threat facing Americans is they need to protect their wealth, which is exactly what I'm doing for my wife and 6 kids. And I believe the ultimate safe haven is physical gold and silver. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. The folks I use are Advantage Gold, and believe me, I've investigated the heck out of all types of people. Advantage Gold is the nation's highest rated gold company. They have the best process, pricing, and service. If you want to get your free gold and silver investment kit, please contact Advantage Gold right now, and you'll see how easy it is to protect yourself with precious metals. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
Get ready because Scott's is taking over daylight saving time. It's such a big event that we're calling it day-long saving time. And now it's got real savings. In fact, it's the biggest deals of the year. Audacious? Absolutely. So don't wait. Stock up early and you'll be able to save up to $20 on Scott's Triple Action and Easy Seed products today at the Home Depot and Lowe's. Offers available March 9th through 22nd at select U.S. stores while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See store for exact offers.
Before new Cascade Platinum Plus, I would pre-rinse all my dishes because my old detergent just wouldn't get them clean. But now I do dishes differently. And no pre-wash, no rewash, money-back guaranteed kind of different. Because Cascade Platinum Plus has double the grease-fighting power of Dawn built right in, with twice the scrubbing power, giving me a clean that lets me break all the dish rules. I just scrape, load, and I'm done. Yep. So clean. With Cascade Platinum Plus, I dare to dish differently.
Matt Flat Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot. Get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan. The all-new Matt Flat Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online, mattflatnissan.com.
Get ready for the madness. March Madness is coming to 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig back here, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get back to the Eagles conversation coming up next hour with Adam Caplan from Football at 4. But right now, we're going to get into the 76ers. They're off tonight. They're back in action tomorrow night. You hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Tom McGinnis calls the action at 7:30 p.m. Paul Hudrick joins us from Liberty Ballers here on 97.3 ESPN. Hey, Paul, thoughts on Rashad Penny? No, I'm just kidding. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Hey, solid signing for a running back by committee, right? Sure.
Exactly. Speaking of committee, I want to start with this with you because the Sixers have recently, they just been playing really well overall. They found ways to win. But I think the big key to me is, Paul, it seems like there's one thing in common with all of these wins versus the couple losses they've had. It's the turnovers. In the games they're winning, they're not turning the ball over. And it seems like it may seem that simplistic, but Paul, I ran the numbers myself. In the games they lose, they're averaging 14 turnovers a game. In the games they win, they're just under 10 turnovers a game. And it seems like those 4 turnovers per game makes a big difference.
It doesn't. I do think the one thing I would say, a caveat to that, is when you are losing, you do have a tendency to maybe press a little bit. And with that might lead to more turnovers. But you're right in that, with Joel Embiid, his biggest issue, offensively, is that he does have a tendency to turn the ball over, whether that's with, double teams and maybe not finding open teammates, maybe not, making the right or correct or quickest decisions. But over the last, I would say over like month plus, he's been pretty much every night, welcoming the double and triple teams, finding teammates in those right situations, using ball fakes effectively, putting the ball on the floor at the right times, just not making the silly mistakes that you see from him in the past. And James Harden has had some outlier games where he's had legitimately like 6 or 7 turnovers. And I feel like if you were to look back on those, a lot of those are Sixers losses. But for the most part, Harden's been really good as far as assists to turnover. And when you consider his usage rate, if he's going to commit 3 turnovers in a game, if he's going to give you 15 assists and the offense is going to hum, you'll live with, whatever. You'll live with a handful of turnovers at that point. But I do think that is a big thing. And I think especially, Josh, late game. They're not turning the ball over late in the games. They're executing late in games. And I think that's really been, to me, a huge difference all season long, is that this team in late game execution has been so much better than it's been really during any point of the Joel Embiid era.
You mentioned Harden. Since the All-Star break, he has an 11-3 assist to turnover ratio. So, for the audience out there listening, that's a significant differential, that Harden is out there being productive. And I'm glad you mentioned Harden because I feel like the fan, sometimes they look at the stats, right? All they see is points, assists, but I don't think they understand that. It seems like when Harden's on the floor, I feel like since the All-Star break, he has come out and just been, for the most part, most games really focused on making the right play each time down the floor.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, even if you look at the stats, I mean, they're pretty telling too. He's having his most efficient season maybe ever since he became a star. Certainly, this is, he's shooting around 40% from three. He's never done that. He hasn't done that. He hasn't shot this high since he was in Oklahoma City from three. I mean, obviously the volume's a little bit less, but it's still pretty darn high. So the efficiency, I think, really sticks out with him this year. And even going back to when he came back against Houston in that horrible double overtime loss, which feels like a year ago at this point, one of their worst losses of the season. But since that point, they've had the best offense in the NBA. And that's, yeah, of course, having Joel Embiid helps that. But just as big is James Harden setting the table. You see the stats, like, no one has assisted on more plays than Harden on Embiid baskets. Like those two, people, there's kind of like this chicken and egg thing. Like, is it Harden that's making it easier for Embiid? Is it Embiid that's making it easier for Harden? The answer is yes. They are making each other's job so much easier. Harden has never had a pick and roll partner like Embiid, a dominant, dominant big man force that's so skilled that can score the basketball. Clearly, Joel Embiid has never had a point guard that can set the table the way Harden does, the way, run a pick and roll the way Harden does. And it's just their partnership from an offensive standpoint has been tremendous. Again, they've been the best offensive team in the NBA for months now, and it's because they have those two players. Now, of course, the big tests come in the playoffs, and how are those two going to make it work then? But and again, also goes back to the original point I made, which is late game execution. You now have a half court offense with James Harden running things, and it's leading to better looks down the stretch, less turnovers, less missed opportunities.
Paul, what are your thoughts on Maxey being inserted back into the starting lineup?
I think it was too late. I think it should have happened maybe a week prior. I would have, at least out of the All-Star break, I'd have done it, because I just think this is a starting caliber player in the NBA. He's just too good to bring him off the bench. And I just think I talked about what Embiid and Harden, what they do for each other, what Maxey's speed and his quick trigger from three, what that does and how much that helps Embiid and Harden. It's immeasurable. You look at what, when they trap Harden out of the pick and rolls, he can either, he dishes it off to Maxey on the wing. Maxey can either hit that shot or he can take it downhill, get to the basket. It just opens up so much possibilities there. He's been so good from the corners as a shooter, Maxey, and Embiid needs that. And Embiid needs outlets in the corner. So when he's got Maxey in one corner, who is one of the better corner 3-point shooters, TJ Tucker in the other, or Tobias Harris, like that threat, it just makes everything so much better. And his speed in general just makes it, gives that unit, which, quite frankly, with Embiid, Harden, and you're talking Harris and Tucker, it's not the fastest, it's not the most athletic unit in the world. You add Tyrese Maxey in, and it just gives you something completely different. And that's no disrespect to DeAnthony Melton, who's done a fine job, who has really come on since coming off the bench the last couple of games. And he's going to be a huge part of this. He's been a godsend for this team. So I think this is right. I think Maxey should be in the starting lineup. I think DeAnthony Melton should be an integral part of this team off the bench. He should be their sixth man. And the last thing I'd add is that Maxey defensively has really, really upped his game over the last few weeks. Doc Rivers continues to point that out. We saw what he did against Portland and Dame and Anthony Simons. He was excellent down the stretch of that game. So I think with all that, I think he's earned the right to be a starter again. And I think the Sixers are a better team when he's a starter.
Talking with Paul Hudrick. You can follow him on Twitter. Covers the Sixers for Liberty Ballers. I literally just had your Twitter handle in front of me, and I was an idiot. I know it's Paul Hudrick, but the problem is that I'm a guy who reads the script in front of me, and if the script is not in front of me, I lose track of my place. So that's the flaw in my stars, Paul. Okay, is that if it's not in front of me, the screen is not in front of me, I lose track. At Paul Hudrick on Twitter. Moving down the stretch of the season, what are your thoughts on now so much run from Paul Reed? Because it feels like he has really found a role in this bench unit on a team that, let's be realistic. If you would have told the Sixer fan out there in October Paul Reed was the backup center, they would have been ecstatic. And now it's almost like they're wondering, are they going to, is the is the guy going to get yanked off the stage here at some point?
Well, right now it would be a really difficult thing to do because he has played so well. I mean, this is the best stretch of his NBA career. He's been fantastic on both sides of the ball. Just less mistakes, and I think that goes back to, I mean, if we're speaking frankly, the guy probably should have been the backup center starting in October and gotten to ride that out because, as he's gotten to play, gotten to be more comfortable, he's been able to iron out some of those mistakes. He's been more disciplined. He's played smarter. You see him and James Harden developing a little more of that chemistry. I know that's something that maybe that doesn't get brought up as much, but I think some of it with Montrezl Harrell was James Harden trusted Montrezl Harrell more than he trusts Paul Reed to be in spots. But I think we've gotten to a point now where Paul Reed is just been playing so much better and so much smarter that Harden feels comfortable. Harden had a lot of really great things to say about him after the latest win against the Wizards. And it's right now, he is their best option as a backup center. There's just no two ways around it. At some point, Dwayne Dedmon's going to get a look of some kind at some point, whether that's with Joel Embiid taking a night off or whatever, or somebody, knock on all the wood, somebody going down. Like Dwayne Dedmon's going to get a look, but I feel confident in saying that Paul Reed is going to be your best option. He's your most dynamic player at that position. He becomes super switchable. You have a lineup with him, Jalen McDaniels, and Daniel House has been playing recently. You have so much more athleticism than you've had all season long. So to me, he's the best option, and I right now he has earned it. He is playing his best NBA basketball.
Paul, we got the Sixers going on a little road trip again, 3-game jaunt. Cleveland, Charlotte, Indiana, not the harshest competition. They're back in Philadelphia on Monday, then they're back on the road again. So they got a lot of road games coming up. What are you looking for from this team that is going to be on the road? Basically, what is that? 7 of the next 8 games, basically.
Yeah, I think there's something like 5 games in 8 nights. Like it's another brutal stretch like they had a couple weeks ago. But yeah, the Cleveland matchup really intrigues me tomorrow night. It looks like Cleveland's on a back-to-back, but it looks like Donovan Mitchell's already not going to play tonight. So that they have this game against the Sixers at home circled. It's going to be the tiebreaker. It's going to determine whether or not they've both split the game so far. So in the quest for that 3 seed, I think the Cavs are like 4 games back. So I don't see them catching the Sixers, but if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, you're making a push. You're trying to get that 3 seed. So it's a big game, and it's just an interesting matchup for the Sixers. They have a really good young front court in Jared Allen and with Evan Mobley. They have a really good young backcourt with, as I mentioned, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, who are going to give the Sixers perimeter defenders a lot of issues, and it's going to be a difficult matchup. So I'm really intrigued to see how the Sixers come out, how they match up against them. They've matched up very well on the road against the Milwaukee Bucks a couple weeks ago. So that's the biggest thing I'm seeing. And then that West Coast trip is no joke. They do have to deal with, likely no Kevin Durant, but the Suns are still a really dangerous team. The Warriors at home have been like the best team in the NBA. They've been like the worst team in the NBA on the road. And then, of course, the matchup again against Jokic in Denver is going to be another tough one. So this March slate is really, really difficult for the Sixers. But what I've been impressed with is that they've seemingly taken that as a challenge, and they played really good out of the break so far. And if they continue to do that, then, this is a team that could maybe make some noise.
He's Paul Hudrick, at Paul Hudrick on Twitter. Of course, he is the editor-in-chief for Liberty Ballers. Paul, appreciate you jumping on today, and we'll see how the Sixers handle this another crazy road trip, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, Josh. Thanks, man.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of CLA. So here's the full rundown with Paul here. Sixers tomorrow night versus the Bulls. Hear that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. And then Friday and Saturday, there it is. Friday in Charlotte, Saturday in Indiana. And then they come home for 1 game on Monday against the Bulls, then against Chicago next Wednesday, then next Friday, Saturday, Golden State, Phoenix, and then after that, Monday in Denver. It's a tough run. I mean, this is why we said they have the toughest schedule in the NFL. The NBA move forward. Speaking of the NFL, back to the NFL, football at 4, powered by the Insiderverse podcast. NFL insider Adam Caplan. What is going on with the Eagles this offseason? Players leaving, players coming. We'll get into all next here on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Got by Melton. Melton, lob play. Daniel House with a right-hand throwdown. Oh, man.
It's Sixers Cavs tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
The typical American sandwich is filled with fatty meats, cheese, and salty condiments on heavy bread, your basic nutritional nightmare. But you can create a healthier sandwich by making a few simple changes. Use whole grain bread or pitas instead of white bread or rolls. If you must use deli meats, choose low-fat, low-sodium versions. Select tuna, chicken, or turkey over ham, salami, or another fatty meat. When possible, use fresh carved chicken or turkey without the skin. Think of meat as the condiment and veggie toppings such as lettuce and tomato as the main filling. Try something different. Instead of cheese or mayonnaise, add slices of grilled vegetables, salsa, or spicy mustard, all low-fat flavor boosters. With a pinch of thought and a dash of creativity, you can build a better sandwich. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life.
Bet365 is giving you more this March with a mega $365 in bonus bets. Simply sign up, bet $1, and unlock your $365 in bonus bets. Check out our Bet Boost, offered across every game of the college basketball tournament throughout March. Sign up today, bet $1 and get $365 in bonus bets, and make your March mega with Bet365. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 plus and physically located in New Jersey.
I can't believe tax season is here already. Look at all this info I have to enter.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Mom, Dad, Sis?
Here we go again.
Why are you in a suit?
Picture, if you will, a world with the best network imaginable. I'm talking about the Xfinity 10G network.
Go on.
Mom, remember how your reality shows wouldn't load with all of us online? Now you can binge. And Susie, we'll have fast internet in the basement.
Nice.
If you have any questions, here's my card.
This is just your name on a gum wrapper.
Introducing the 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through March 21st, new customers can get 200 megabit Xfinity internet during our limited time Xfinity 10G network launch celebration for just $25 a month for 2 years. Plus, there's no annual contract required and you get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
Did you know Nissan EVs have traveled 8 billion miles? Just a quick trip to Pluto and back. And what did we learn along the way? Well, that an EV can take on the world, like the Nissan Leaf. It can move racing forward and take your breath away, like the all-new Nissan Ariya. We learned to make EVs that electrify. 8 billion miles driven by Leaf owners globally since 2010. 2023 Ariya has limited availability. All-wheel drive expected availability early 2023, subject to change.
Our locally owned and operated small businesses are the heartbeat of our community, and the 97.3 ESPN South Jersey Industry Aces stand out as leaders in their fields, like Broadley's HVAC and Plumbing, a family-owned plumbing and HVAC company that has been serving Cape May and Atlantic County since 1911. And men, let Tomorrow's Wellness Center in Northfield help you rise to the occasion. For more details, visit tomorrowswellnesscenter.com. Support one of these fantastic industry aces today.
Sports is what we do.
Segura from a knee throws him out.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all of South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN presents the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Adam Caplan.
I have real confidence that our football operations can once again create a dominant football team.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. A busy day already around the NFL. You thought yesterday was wild, and today there is some significant Eagles news we got to get to, dealing with players coming, players going, and of course to review what yesterday meant for the Eagles offseason so far. We are getting to all right now with NFL insider Adam Caplan, the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, at Caplan NFL on Twitter. Adam, how you doing today?
Josh, I'm well. Look, it's busy. It's that time of year. Free agency always starts on Monday these days. It doesn't start on Wednesday. It's people are like, oh, this has to be, you got to wait till Wednesday. No, not anymore. Not anymore.
So let's get to the stories in order of happening at this point. So the score.com is reporting that Kazir White is rejoining Jonathan Gannon in Arizona. I feel like that's like the least surprising news of the day.
Yeah, look, we know the Eagles are going to lose some players to teams where their coaches that used to be with the Eagles are executives, and that's happened at least in a couple of instances. And this one with Kazir White was one of their starting inside linebackers. This opens up two now because T.J. Edwards is now with the Bears. We'll get to him in a second. Nakobe Dean obviously would be a starter at one of those positions, and they'll have to figure out who will start at the other opposite Dean. But it's not a big deal. I mean, it's in terms of Eagles losing White, that was widely expected that they would lose him. It was widely expected they would lose T.J. Edwards. So Edwards did like Philly. He moves on. It wasn't quite the money that we were expecting, though. I would tell you that. With 3 years and $19.5 million, not that over 6.5 million a year is something to sneeze at, but he gets a nice deal. It's got some guarantee money in year two, but it does open up a lot of roles here. You know, I do wonder. Christian Ellis was a fantastic special teams player, very explosive. Also played well in limited snaps on defense. Just makes you wonder, will he get a chance to push for playing time next season?
Adam, you mentioned you're the third person I've now heard mention that you're surprised Edwards didn't get more money. I mean, how much of it was Edwards basically wanting to play for the Bears? It seems like he was like almost the first move that happened after 12 p.m. yesterday.
Yeah, look, we know that that there are 3 or 4 teams in with him, and it's just a matter of where he was going to go and what his role will be. Now, here's another interesting note on this T.J. Edwards signing. Edwards will not be their middle linebacker, most likely. Tremaine Edmonds should be their middle linebacker. That's the position he plays. Edmonds, by the way, making $18 million a year. So, where will they play him? That's going to be the interesting spot for T.J. Edwards now, because he goes from more of a 34 defense to a 43 scheme under Matt Eberflus, who brings in the defense that he ran with the Colts in the second year as the head coach. So Edwards can play weak side or strong side, but the bottom line is he's no longer being an inside linebacker. That was pretty interesting.
That is very interesting. So now you mentioned Nakobe Dean, you mentioned Christian Ellis. We know Howie has a long history of not being a part of the first couple of days of the free agency boom. Is it fair to say that the Eagle fan can expect maybe an addition, maybe a little bit later in the offseason for depth at linebacker?
Yeah, sure. It's whether it's a draft or free agency, yeah. And remember, they picked up Kaiser White on April 5th of last year, so it's really not a big deal. Them losing 2 inside linebackers, look, it was a position of strength, which is what we thought coming into the season. It was finally not a weakness, but now it's time for Nakobe Dean to get on the field and take a look at him.
Speaking of getting on the field, Adam, the Eagles are reportedly signing Rashad Penny to be one of their new running backs. So what is his role going to be in this offense?
Yeah, so he agreed to a deal in the last 2 hours. Barring a surprise, this should end the career of Miles Sanders with the Eagles. Why do I say that? I said barring a surprise. I didn't say definitely will happen that he won't come back. But let me explain it why there's really not much room. Trey Sermon's a guy we'd reported last fall they were not going to cut him, just though it looked kind of curious. The guy only had 2 carries, and they were looking for guys to release, and they would not release, and they didn't. They also have Kenny Gainwell, their third down back. Kennedy Brooks is on the roster, but he's just it's highly unlikely he would make it. And, of course, Boston Scott's unsigned with Sanders. But Rashad Penny, I know the Eagles liked coming into that draft 4 years ago. Super explosive, very good size. He's got his weight under control. I remember with the Seahawks, he was a little bit heavy. Significant injury history. He's never played close to a full season. Coming off a broken leg, also had a significant knee injury years ago. But he led the NFL in rushing, Josh. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I believe somewhere in the final quarter of the 2021 season, he was phenomenal. So the guy's gifted. It's a prove-it deal. And it's kind of one of these deals. If the guy could give them 10 games, at the very least, it's going to be worth signing because he's so explosive. And by the way, he doesn't catch the ball a lot, but when he does, it could take to the distance. He was, if you play fantasy football, he was amazing on that stretch 2 years ago. I mean, he finally put it together. So, look, yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise. It wasn't the kind of the name we were looking at, but I like it. I like it because I know how explosive he is. And this was Pete Carroll's call, by the way. When he was drafted in the first round as a surprise first-round pick in 5 years ago, that was Pete Carroll made the call. He loved the player. Now, did they overdraft him? Probably so. But very gifted. And, again, if he could just stay on the field, this could be a steal.
Yeah, you mentioned he led the NFL 6.3 yards per attempt in 2021. They only played 10 games that year. So what does this mean for the Eagles running back position? Because we know Penny did play in basically a committee over there in Seattle.
So the guys that, Penny, by the way, he can't sign until 4:01 Eastern tomorrow. Gainwell, Penny, Trey Sermon, and they need one more back. Now, that could come in any form draft. Later in free agency, it could come in any way, shape, or form. And Miles Sanders coming back, I just don't see any way you can do this because Penny's got to play. Gainwell's their third down back. It would make no sense. And again, they want to look at Sermon. Now, Boston Scott could be that guy. And I know the Eagles have some interest in bringing it back. Would it surprise anyone if he came back? No. And that would pretty much complete the running back position. But we have to wait and see. And obviously, to bring Boston Scott back, it wouldn't cost very much.
So you mentioned Miles Sanders a couple times. What is next for him in your mind?
Yeah, boy. This is what we were expecting. We thought the first day of running backs would be quiet. It was. Other than Matt Breida resigning with the Giants, it was extremely quiet at that position. I know people in the league thought he'd be looking to get $7 million a year. I don't know that he gets that now. Maybe he only gets $5 million. We'll have to see. Plenty of teams still need a running back. He has teams interested in him, but he's not getting the kind of money that he probably thought he was getting at this point. But we're only in the second day of free agency.
Talk with Adam Caplan, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast at InsideTheBirds.com, at Caplan NFL on Twitter. Adam, let's hit on a couple of the guys who departed yesterday. Javon Hargrave, big money to go to the 49ers, but what does this mean for the Eagles D tackles?
Boy, all right. So it's 4 years, $84 million. It's basically major fully guaranteed money for 2 years. Then the Niners could get out of it. But so this is another guy we did not expect to come back. We had heard that the Eagles would have considered bringing him back, but the money was obviously way out of their league, not even close. So with Fletcher Cox up, Sue and Joseph up, right now Jordan Davis will be a starter. We all know that. He's just got to get in better shape. They like Milton Williams as their third tackle. Tui Pelotu's coming off a big injury. They like this Noah Ellis, by the way, the other Ellis on the roster, and the Ellis brothers, one of the two Ellis brothers, one of three in the league. He's a guy that is a run-stopping guy, though. That's the problem. They need a pass-rushing defensive tackle. That's right. That's, Josh, right now what they are missing.
Do you think that is a position they can address in free agency, or do you think that might be something more likely in the draft?
Well, the pass-rushing D tackles out there, they're only like 2 or 3. Jaron Reed is by far the best one. He's a journeyman D tackle, around 30 years old, but puts up numbers everywhere he goes. He's been on 4 or 5 teams. Of course, Fletcher Cox, Should mention him. He can rush the passer. He's obviously not quite what he was years ago. Akeem Hicks is a guy that can rush the passer a little bit. He's very strong against the run, but he's had a lot of injuries and he's older. So the D-tackle market has been picked over. Not a lot left of pass rushers. So to me, if they wouldn't get someone like Jaron Reed, you'd have to look at the draft.
Of course, you can learn more about Jerry if you go back and listen to Greg Cosell's conversation with the guys on the Inside the Birds podcast. Although what he had to say about Reed was very interesting on that pod, Adam. Over to safety, Marcus Epps, 2 years, $12 million.
Well, that was later than we thought. Yeah, in fact, I know one team said that when they had heard the numbers, they were like, whoa, whatever he was looking for initially, that this team I talked to said, we're not doing anywhere close to that. And he wound up doing 2 years at $12 million with the Raiders. Now, he might be from the West Coast, and I know the tax structure is very good in Las Vegas, but when you look at that deal that Epps got, Josh, with the Raiders, they could more or less get out of it after one season. It's got a structure like he's going to make about $6 million in year one, and then they have to make a decision the third day for agency to get out of it. But they would owe him if they get out of it just over $3 million next season. That would be fully guaranteed anyway. But teams would walk away from that. It would tell me, Josh, it doesn't seem to me that the Eagles really tried hard to get him back, which is interesting because when you really look at it, all they've got right now, because Gardner Johnson is still unsigned.
Right.
You got Kevon Wallace, who's obviously not a starter. He's on the final year of his rookie deal going into 2023. Reed Blankenship was a really good find for them as an undrafted free agent, but it's more of a third safety. So, boy, their secondary right now with Darius Slay potentially being traded, Bradbury maybe changing agents, by the way. His contract's up. So there's a lot of change here.
By the way, you are correct. Marcus Epps, born in Burbank, California, went to college in Wyoming.
Hey, Josh, I have to run. I'll call you right back.
All right, absolutely. Adam Caplan here, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Hey, there's Adam's a hardworking man. When there's news to break, he gets to it. So we only had a certain amount of time with him anyway. But back to the Epps point, I had mentioned to you guys previously about, Epps was one of many of the safeties that came off the board yesterday. And, we saw that, look, when you saw Bates get all that money, when you saw Von Bell get all that money, then you saw Epps get 2 years, 12. Adam brings up a great point. Does this organization just not value certain guys, or are they trying to conserve money to bring back the other guys? This is kind of the balancing act. It's the idea, you heard Adam say, because White got added in April of last year. Well, it's March 14th. We got a whole month before the Eagles sometimes add people. So are the Eagles going to let the market play out? Are the Eagles going to let the market, kind of recalibrate and find itself while they figure things out? It's a question to be asked. This is an organization that has not been hasty under Howie Roseman ever since Howie took over back in 2016 again in the aftermath of Chip Kelly being fired. They have not been an organization that has been, panic mode. There's never been a panic mode from this organization. And I believe we have Adam back right now for Football at 4. Adam, is that you?
Yeah, sorry, my friend. I had to put a story out. The Chargers just re-signed the right tackle, so I had to put that out there.
Gotcha. So back to Epps and the safety, you were mentioning what this means really quick for the Eagles safeties. Obviously, they have a lot of guys unsigned right now.
Yes. Yeah, in fact, as I said, Blankenship was a great story of development. Sasha is more of a special teamer, and they like to take a look at Marquise Blair, a former draft pick for the Seahawks, is very talented, but he's had a lot of injuries. So he's the kind of guy, Blair, boy, that I like to see because he's got great size and he could hit. He's over 6'1". He's had a ton of injuries, but keep an eye on him in the offseason. We're going to take a look at him.
And really quick before you get out of here, Adam, tell folks what's going on with the Inside the Birds podcast this week.
Yep. So we dropped our latest Greg Cosell show with running backs. And by the way, we do talk about Rashad Penny on there briefly, and then about 10 unrestricted free agents who are out there that we had not talked about before. And then we drop our next show tomorrow morning, actually it'll be Thursday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern on all podcast platforms.
Inside the Birds Podcast, InsideTheBirdsPod.com, and of course, follow Adam on Twitter at Caplan NFL. Adam, enjoy the rest of your day, and try to keep juggling that news. All right.
Thank you. See you.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank. See, by the way, that Chargers news Adam broke. Chargers are re-signing their right tackle Trey Pipkins to a 3-year deal. Just to follow up on the safety point, I thought it was very interesting that what Adam said about, he mentioned, hey, Bradbury looks like he's changing agents. That's interesting. CJ Gardner-Johnson still out there and not picked up by anybody. We saw all those safeties rapid fire come off the board in the last 24 hours. Jeremy Bates, Von Bell, Marcus Epps, all finding new teams. And you have to wonder, as Adam said, is CJ Gardner-Johnson, does he have teams bidding for him? Is it a situation where he's looking for a number and he's not getting it? Listen, these are all questions that we have to figure out. Listen, there's no right answer with some of this because it's in part speculation, right? A part of this, a huge part of it is speculation. But I will say this, as I go through the moves happening in free agency, we heard John McMullen mention it in the first hour. The 3 o'clock hour. We heard Adam Caplan mention it today. And I've heard other people bring this up. TJ Edwards got less money than people thought. This is why I keep asking. If Edwards and Epps both got less money than people expected them to in free agency, how much of this offseason strategy is Howie Roseman recalibrating the money to be able to bring back CJ Gardner-Johnson, James Bradbury, hope that Darius Slay renegotiates the contract, maybe go out and get a couple guys who are under the radar who will be very good. Look, you heard Adam mention Jaron Reed. Jaron Reed is a guy who I am very intrigued by. He's one of those guys that he's never been a Pro Bowler. He's never been one of those guys who got those big awards. But he's somebody who he's had some boom seasons. He had that year in Seattle a few years ago where he had 10.5 sacks. Ever since that season, he got injured and he wasn't the same guy again. The most sacks he's had since then is 6.5. And I'm curious, for a guy who played on 3 different teams in 3 different years, how much of his success in his play had to do with the systems he was in. Seattle runs a different scheme than Kansas City, which runs a different scheme than Green Bay. Is Jaron Reed the kind of guy that maybe he can't be starting every game, but he comes in relief of a guy like Milton Williams? Maybe Milton Williams and Jordan Davis are the starters on the D line. And then a guy like Jaron Reed is the rotation guy. And that's where you maximize his value. A guy who, listen, he's not old in terms of general age, but in football age, he turns 31 during this upcoming season. Is he somebody who, hey, he's not going to go out there and give you 65, 75% of the snaps each year, but it gives you 50% of the snaps and gets you a nice sack total, a nice quarterback pressure total. Don't forget, yes, people focus on sacks, but the last 3 seasons, Jaron Reed is averaging 13 quarterback hits a year. For a D tackle that he's not a Pro Bowler, he's not an elite talent, but he's productive. It's an interesting name to keep an eye on. All right, coming up next, we'll get back to your text board messages. 609-403-0973 is the text board. I see messages from Stan in Galloway. And others, I'll get to you guys' messages coming up. Don't forget, more football talk with Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports coming up at the top of the 5 o'clock hour right here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com. Powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Attention car buyers. Matt Blatt Kia has 3 questions. Do you have a current vehicle loan or lease? Do you want a low financing rate? Do you want a new ride? If you've answered yes, then stop what you're doing and get to Matt Blatt Kia today. Because if you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released with 0 down and 2.9% financing for 48 months or no payments for 90 days on every 2023 Kia Forte in stock. Have a job clearing $350 per week? Matt Blatt Kia wants to approve you today. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia with peace of mind with Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 3/31/23. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Tom's River.
Hi. Who's this?
Buzz. He appears whenever you eat Honey Nut Cheerios.
Like a genie?
Sure.
Ooh, does he grant wishes? I wish I lived in a giant boot. No, I wish I could swim with a humpback whale. No.
I can grant you a delicious bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios, which can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
Ooh, with heart shapes, too.
Happy heart-shaped Cheerios are back for a limited time. Pick up a box of Honey Nut Cheerios at your local store for an easy, delicious, and heart-healthy start to your day.
People who come to Cricket stay with Cricket, just like our customer, Michelle.
As an entrepreneur, every day is different. My phone bill from Cricket, on the other hand, always stays the same. Without surprises, hidden fees, or annual contracts, I can work worry-free.
That's Michelle, everybody, doing business like a boss. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Real customer, paid for testimonial. See cricketwireless.com for details. Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. You're driving along and some nimrod cuts you off. You hit the horn. Jeez, it sounds like a goose in distress. Time to head over to eBay Motors. They have horns for every make and model, not to mention horn pads, steering wheels, wiring, and more. 122 million parts. You can even go for an upgrade. Looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
With GM financing, the qualified buyers excludes Corvette.
It's back! That's right, March Markdown is back at Bennett Chevrolet. And this year, the savings are bigger and better than ever, with huge savings on every vehicle, because we need to move out over 200 of them right now. Believe it or not, Bennett Chevrolet is selling new vehicles at GM supplier employee pricing for everybody. Plus, there's available 0% financing. And Bennett is giving a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunker towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. That's at least $10,000 for total junk. Just imagine how much Bennett is paying for good trades. And Bennett's non-commissioned sales team is a delight to work with because they're paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Don't miss March Markdowns going on now at Bennett Chevrolet, and get your new Chevy at GM supplier employee pricing, 0% available financing, and at least $10,000 for any trade towards any pre-owned in stock. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Powered by NJM. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center update, brought to you by Bet365. Download the app today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Philadelphia Eagles have found a new running back for next season, Rashad Penny. He spent the last few seasons in Seattle. His last healthy season was in 2021 when he led the NFL with 6.3 yards per attempt. He is currently recovering from a broken fibula he sustained in Week 5 of last season. The Flyers return to the ice tonight when they are home and host the Vegas Golden Knights. Listen to the game on our sister station, Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 app at 7 p.m. Catch the first two games of the NCAA men's basketball tournament with coverage beginning at 6:30 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN, your radio home for March Madness in South Jersey. Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers on our app. Your forecast is next.
We are the tippy top, we're top insurance. We are the tippy top, we're top insurance.
How much would you pay to make this jingle go away? How about nothing? In fact, you could save money on a better insurance experience without gimmicks. Upgrade to NJM and you could save up to $702 a year on auto insurance. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. Get a quote at njm.com. Figure reflects average annual auto insurance premium savings on a national basis for applicants who reported their prior premiums and switched to NJM between 5/31/21 and 5/31/22.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The wicked wind will continue to whip tonight, even as our snow shower chance comes to an end. Occasional gusts of 40 miles an hour expected for the next 24 hours or so. Skies will clear overnight, low temperature around 32 degrees. No hard freeze, but definitely cold and blustery. Mostly sunny and windy tomorrow, high of 50. Thursday looks good. Partly sunny, calm and dry, high 56. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
This hour brought to you by Xfinity.
Everything is changing so fast. Back in my day, we were lucky if we could get one video to load. But now with the Xfinity 10G network, you can power a house full of devices at once with ultra low lag. The future starts now. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary, not guaranteed.
Get ready for madness. March Madness is coming to 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, let me tell you, my friends over at Jenkins & Sons, one call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, the plumbing guy. No, just call 609-641-6440 for new heating and air installations, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, gas furnaces, leak repairs. Jenkins has got you covered. One call does it all. 609-641-6440. And visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. Check out the text board in just a moment at 609-403-0973. That is the text board. We will check that out in just a moment. I want to update you guys if you haven't heard all the news going on. So in the last hour, we told you about Rashad Penny is the new Eagles running back. He is recovering from a broken fibula. That's why he has not played since week 5 of last year. But the year before, he led the NFL in yards per attempt in the 2021 season with 6.3. So as Adam Caplan and John McMullen both mentioned, he is an explosive back. He is a powerful runner. He's a north-south kind of guy, but he hasn't been healthy. He's played a total of 18 games in the last 3 years, while Miles Sanders has played 41. So, if you're replacing Miles Sanders, you're removing a guy who actually was available for a guy who was unavailable. So read into that what you will. We'll get into a little deeper what Rashad Penny means throughout the hour. And, of course, the show tonight here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Also, reports are out there that Kazir White is going to the Cardinals. It is a 2-year deal, according to reports. Now, this is probably, as I told Adam, it's the least surprising news, in my opinion, because you expected a couple of these guys to hang with John Gannon. You expected a couple of these guys to basically look at Gannon and like, look, you're the new head coach in Arizona. I did well in your defense. I'm going to, stick with that program. Now, it hasn't been a universal. Hargrave went to the 49ers. TJ Edwards looks like he basically just went home, went to the Chicago Bears, and Epps went to the Raiders. Now, you heard Adam Caplan say that maybe Epps's market wasn't as plentiful. And according to reports, apparently what Epps was asking for, nobody wanted to give him. So it's an interesting situation with Kazir White leaving, because most people believe that Nakobe Dean can play the Kazir White role in the defense as well, if not better than White. The problem is now it's Sean Desai's defense. And here's my big question. I'm going to ask this to Jeff Kerr coming up in about 30 minutes for Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports. And here's my question to all of you listening to me out there on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Here is my question for everyone listening to the sound of my voice. Did hiring Sean Desai decide some of these offseason moves? Like, for example, did Desai look at a guy like Marcus Epps and say, I don't think he's worth the money? Because remember, what is Sean Desai's background? Well, before he was the D coordinator for the Bears in 2021, he coached safeties. He was a defensive quality control coach before that in Chicago. Did he look at Epps and tell Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman, don't overspend for this guy? He's not as important to this defense as maybe he was in Gannon's scheme. Are there variables between what Desai wants to run and what Gannon wants to run that he looks at Kazir White, looks at Marcus Epps, looks at TJ Edwards, and says, these are replaceable parts? And I'm not trying to, I know it sounds dehumanizing calling players parts, but hear me out. In a lot of times, these coaches, they will ask the question, is this guy replaceable? You have that stat, in baseball, wins above replacement. How much more value are you getting from a guy versus another similar player? So is Desai sitting with Nick Sirianni? Is he sitting with Howie Roseman? Is he talking to the Eagles and saying, I don't think Marcus Epps is worth 2 years, $12 million. You could find somebody else. Is he looking at TJ Edwards and saying 3 years, $19 million? We can find somebody else. It's something to think about. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not reporting anything. I have no special insight, but these are the questions I want to ask, because to me, I don't think it's a coincidence that three guys who were productive players, starters on this team last year, who all, according to reports, got less money on the open market than people expected. So again, I ask you, what is Sean Desai's role in all of this? Something to think about. All right, over on the text board, 609-403-0973. Cole from LBI chimes in, says the Jets need a safety that can create turnovers. They traded for Chuck Clark, who plays strong safety, who the Jets can cut Jordan Whitehead and keep Clark, save $10 million. If the Jets cut Whitehead, I'd be worried that the Jets can be players for CJ Gardner-Johnson. Couple things with the Jets. Number one, Robert Saleh's defense is very different than what Gannon ran last year, and it's also different what Dennis Allen runs in New Orleans. Now, I bring both those defenses up because those are the two places CJ Gardner-Johnson has played recently. So I'm looking at what Garner's experience is, okay? What is CJGJ's experience? Well, what did he do last year? He had 6 interceptions, led the NFL. The year before, he had 3 interceptions in New Orleans. New Orleans and Philadelphia's defenses are run differently than the Jets. Would CJ be interested in changing defensive schemes again? I don't know. I don't know if that is really something that he is looking to do. You know, the Jets are so focused right now on Aaron Rodgers and, you know, securing the offense for him. You have to wonder, is CJ Gardner-Johnson even in the cards for them? But it's a good question by Cole from LBI. I don't think it's a bad question. I just don't know. You know, for example, the Eagles, they let CJ basically function like a free safety, almost like an Ed Reed type guy this past year. And then in New Orleans, he was primarily a nickel corner who would slide into the safety slot in specific formations. The Jets don't run, like Gannon's defense is that hybrid front. Saleh runs that defense you saw in the 49ers for the last few years when he was there, and then D'Amico Ryans kind of carried that scheme over, where Saleh likes his safeties to basically be ranging tacklers. Personally, I think Clark and Whitehead make more sense for the Saleh style of safety play than cutting White and putting CJ Gardner-Johnson. Johnson's more of a cover safety than a sideline to sideline running safety. Not that he can't do it, but I don't think it's his skill set. Stan in Galloway chimes in at 609-403-0973. Stan says, do you think with Penny being signed, the Birds let potentially Scott walk and then maybe bring back Sanders on a low cost-effective deal? If he doesn't sign elsewhere, Penny could be the big back. Sanders could be the 3-down back, and Gainwell be the change of pace back. I personally would love that. That's Stan in Galloway saying that at 609-403-0973. That's an interesting scenario. I think Scott is right now more valuable than Miles Sanders, personally. I think Sanders, it's weird because, you know, people say that Nick Sirianni likes Miles Sanders, but that maybe he's the only one in the organization who does, which is interesting because they don't use Sanders in the way you expected them to. Like, how many times was the question asked? How many times was it asked, why are you not using Sanders enough in the passing game? I tend to think Sanders is gone. I think Scott makes more sense because I think Scott and Gainwell can be the primary rotation backs with Penny and Sermon being the power backs, you know, the north-south runners. I don't hate the idea of a Sanders, Penny, Gainwell rotation. I just think Scott is he's so underrated in his value. He's done so many things for this team over the years. It's kind of how I'm looking at it, at least. Cole from LBI says, I don't want to talk about Rodgers. Well, listen, I'm trying not to be like the rest of the shows out there and just be obsessive over certain topics, okay? You know, to me, I don't personally care about Rodgers until he actually makes a decision. But yes, it does look like with the signing of Allen Lazard, with the pursuit and interest in Randall Cobb, it certainly looks like Aaron is, you know, doing his best to reunite with the boys. I don't know. It's interesting. I think that here's my quick take on the Jets. I think the Jets are playing with fire. I think the Jets, they realized that last year their quarterback position lost them more games than it won them. And I feel like they're going big game hunting. And I think that the problem with Aaron Rodgers is that, well, no, there's two problems with Aaron Rodgers. One was last year an anomaly. Aaron Rodgers basically had the worst year of his career statistically last year. You look through Aaron Rodgers' entire career before last year, and you realize that those 12 interceptions he threw last year was the most he has thrown since 2010. That's 12 years ago. The dude literally didn't throw 10-digit interceptions every year for over a decade before last season. Aaron Rodgers had 26 passing touchdowns last year. The last time he had less than 26 passing touchdowns was 2018 when the Packers had a 6-9-1 record. Now, back then, don't forget, that was when, well, the guy drafted Jordan Love. The guy started playing for the future. And then Rodgers came out and had not one, not two, but 3 straight monster seasons statistically. So is last year a lull? Was it just because he didn't have good enough talent around him? Was it because maybe he wasn't fully healthy? I can't read Aaron Rodgers' mind. I don't know what's going on with that guy. That's my first concern with Rodgers and the Jets. My second concern is, are the Jets so focused on the offense that they forget their calling card was defense last year? That defense was a top 5 caliber defense. Sauce Gardner, Quentin Williams, those dudes on that defense are a bunch of studs. If Aaron Rodgers goes there, do they lose track of what got them there? I mean, that's my perspective on Rodgers and the Jets, and I'm going to let it be. You guys can read into that what you want. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. We'll get more of your thoughts throughout the show. Don't forget, coming up top of the next hour, Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, will join us, talk more NFL. And of course, throughout the show, you can get to your DMs on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle, as well as your texts 609-403-0973.
Are you ready for the madness?
1 second. Got it at the buzzer.
March Madness, starting March 17th, only on 97.3 ESPN.
Imagine all the possibilities of a $229 million Mega Millions win. You could buy your forever home, buy a new luxury car, plus one for all your friends and family. It's just that many millions. Anything can happen in Jersey.
Hey, y'all, this is your girl, Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Get ready, because Scott's is taking over daylight saving time. It's such a big event that we're calling it day-long saving time. And now it's got real savings. In fact, it's the biggest deals of the year. Audacious? Absolutely. So don't wait. Stock up early and you'll be able to save up to $20 on Scott's Triple Action and Easy Seed products today at the Home Depot and Lowe's. Offers available March 9th through 22nd at select U.S. stores while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them.
If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-9336. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-444-9336. 800-444-9336.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall. If you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREON info.com.
Mom, Dad, Sis?
Here we go again.
Why are you in a suit? Picture, if you will, a world with the best network imaginable. I'm talking about the Xfinity 10G network. Go on. Mom, remember how your reality shows wouldn't load with all of us online? Now you can binge. And Susie, we'll have fast internet in the basement.
Nice.
If you have any questions, here's my card.
This is just your name on a gum wrapper.
Introducing the 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through March 21st, new customers can get 200 megabit Xfinity internet during our limited time Xfinity 10G network launch celebration for just $25 a month for 2 years. Plus, there's no annual contract required and you get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Valvoline Advanced can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life oil filter for only $37.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Nature Valley Crunchy Bars are the snack for out there. You know, the place where you hear sounds like this. And this. Oh, and this. Nature Valley. Life happens out there.
Your luxury BMW experience is closer than you think. Take advantage of exceptional savings at BMW of Atlantic City. Stop in and shop your favorite models, including the new BMW 2 Series, X3, and more. We're sure to have a vehicle that fits your needs. And with Acceleride, purchase your vehicle online and we'll deliver it directly to you. Looking to trade? We'll pay top dollar for your current vehicle. Experience luxury today at BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think. In Egg Harbor Township, shop our complete inventory online at bmwatlanticcity.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
.449 on a Tuesday afternoon. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash. You know, I was chewing on this Aaron Rodgers thing during the break because somebody texted in and said Rodgers is an undeniable talent. I don't know if he's going to be tripping on shrooms while OTAs, if he even goes to them when he joins the Jets. That's another issue. Call from LBI. Here's the thing with the Rodgers stuff. And I feel like most of the time I can make an informed opinion about athletes. I feel like I have enough information on Deshaun Watson versus Jalen Hurts. I have enough information on Lamar Jackson versus Derek Carr, right? I have enough information on Kyrie Irving versus LeBron, or like whatever, contrast you want to run, right? I feel like a lot of these guys I have a ton of information on. And the problem for me is I feel like that we have been given a lot of misinformation when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. And here's why. Aaron Rodgers has been very public in his thoughts and opinions about things in recent years. Whether it is on philosophy, whether it is on non-traditional medicines, whether it's on, pseudo-political topics, Rodgers, when he speaks, has been pretty specific on certain things. I feel like on other things, I don't really know where he stands. I don't really know the kind of person he is. It's weird because on one hand, Rodgers seems like an aloof, odd individual. On the other hand, he doesn't have a bunch of teammates trashing him left and right. It's not like Devontae Adams when he left the Green Bay Packers was hating on Rodgers, or when Randall Cobb went to the Texans, he was hating on Rodgers, or other guys who have like Jamal Williams, he left and went to Detroit. It's not like he's trashing Aaron Rodgers. Maybe just Rodgers is a weird guy. Maybe it's as simple as he's just odd, he's weird, he's different. Doesn't mean he's bad. Doesn't mean he's a bad, poor teammate. Doesn't mean that he can't play football anymore. Maybe he just personality-wise doesn't mesh with certain people. Maybe he's the kind of quarterback that he needs to play with a defensive-minded head coach who's not going to be lording over his shoulder all the time. I don't know. Maybe. It's just odd to me. It's just very odd to me that there's so many athletes I can give you clear and concise, like I could point to things and information about them. We know things about Deshaun Watson. We know things about Lamar Jackson. We know things about Patrick Mahomes. We know things about Jalen Hurts. We know things about Dak Prescott. We know things about Tua Tagovailoa. We know things about Carson Wentz. Do we really know about Aaron Rodgers? I feel like Rodgers has become the target of like the social media warriors, the keyboard typers who just anytime anyone says anything they don't like, they just hate. You ever see the Chappelle skit from the Chappelle Show where it's like hater of the year, and before they announce the winner of the award, the crowd's chanting hate. I feel like that's what social media is sometimes. It's just a bunch of angry people who are miserable about their lives, who are projecting their venom and vile and their own unhappiness onto everyone else. And I don't even know if they believe half the stuff they put on Twitter. I mean, how many of those people really believe? I don't know. They're eggheads or fake accounts, or they're not even they're pretending to be somebody else with fake names. Who knows what they really believe? So it's like when people put out this stuff again about Aaron Rodgers, right? I feel like they're the same people who were so quick to assume that Michael Irvin did something wrong, right? Or they're the same people who got Gina Carano kicked off the Mandalorian show. It's like these people say something that you don't agree with, and it's the hater of the year crowd from the Chappelle Show. Hate. Chanting left and right. So it's like with Rodgers, I have trouble believing that he's as bad as some people say he is, or as much of a bum or a jerk that people say he is, because at the end of the day, is anyone really as good or bad as society tries to paint them out to be? Look at this Kyrie Irving stuff. Kyrie Irving literally just doesn't like the media. He feels the media has done him an injustice over the years. And he doesn't like to give interviews. He doesn't like to talk to certain people because he feels like his words and his beliefs will be misconstrued. And yeah, he's a little bit of a tinfoil hat guy who believes in a little more conspiracies than the average person does. Doesn't make him a bad guy, though. Is Kyrie weird? It's a little weird. Does he spend too much time on Twitch? Yeah, probably. But Kevin Durant spends too much time on Twitter, right? So maybe Aaron Rodgers spends too much time playing around with non-traditional medicine and getting high. Whatever. All right, we'll get back to the Eagles and the football coming up next. Rashad Penny in. Kazir White out. Darren Waller's a Giant. What does it all mean? We'll ask Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports next here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
Sign up now for this year's $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Registration is underway now at 973ESPN.com and the free mobile app until the tournament begins.
Hell yeah!
Brought to you by
Progressive Fence and Railing, serving South Jersey for over 20 years. Call them at 609-800-8428.
Register for the $1 Million Bracket.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
It's buyback March at Matt Blatt Nissan. So bring any trade because AJ the trade man wants to buy your vehicle today. AJ pays $500 more than CarMax. So you get more dough for your ride and then drive home in any new Nissan, Altima, Rogue, or Pathfinder with 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, and 0 interest. Or take $5,000 off MSRP on every new Nissan Titan. And only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Have a job clearing $350 per week? We want to approve you today. And AJ wants your trade, but only at MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $2,778 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Rogues, Pathfinder, Altima. Not all will qualify. Go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. $589. Sale price $31,774. Expires 3/31/23. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
At Staples, school is always in session, and savings never take a holiday, especially now. During Staples Teacher Palooza, you can save even more on everything for school, like 25% on classroom decor and stickers, and save up to 40% on trusted brands for the classroom, like Post-it, Papermate, and Elmer's. Whether you're a teacher restocking your classroom or a parent looking to help, during Staples Teacher Palooza, everyone saves big. But deals end soon, so hurry to Staples, your working and learning store. Offers end 3/18, in-store only while supplies last.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
Every piece of land has a story. The Upshaw's right there is with a John Deere 1 Series tractor they call Penny. And this is Shaw.
Shaw stands for skilled hands at work.
When he's not cutting grass, he's cutting hair.
So every person is different from hair tight to head shape. And I feel like it's the same way in a yard.
From front loader to backhoe, the Upshaws have the tools to DIY all day long. Run with us on a 1 Series tractor and start telling your story. Learn more at johndeere.com/radio.
Get in on all the action throughout the month of March with Madness Zone at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort. Take in the college basketball tournament with a panoramic view of all the games, a beverage in your hand, a bet placed on your favorite team, and an atmosphere like no other. Watch, bet, eat, and drink all tournament long at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort. For more information, visit oceanhc.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Sports is what we do.
You're in your car, you're in your house, you're wherever you are. You're a sports fan.
97.3 ESPN.
Because if you weren't a sports fan, you wouldn't be listening.
WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
5 o'clock hour, Sports Pass. Josh Hennig driving you home here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. And see how it's been a busy NFL day, but I expect nothing less from this time of year. And I'm sure our next guest is probably just trying to stay sane through the whole thing. Jeff Kerr covers the NFL from CBS Sports, and he joins us right now on a Tuesday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Jeff, how's it out there in the streets?
I am going to say this, Josh, and I apologize if I have connectivity issues today because heavy wind and Wi-Fi do not mix. And when they ever figure that out, we're in 2023 and we still can't beat wind with Comcast or Surf Select, whatever your cable company is.
Listen, I'm still waiting for hoverboards from Back to the Future, so.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to be waiting another 30 years for that.
What happens first, the hoverboard, or they figure out how to fix the internet?
It's crazy, right? Yeah, I was complaining back in 2000 when the internet was slow, and it's still slow. And I'm on Ethernet cable, and it's still slow. It's just crazy to me because when you're writing a story and everything freezes, especially this time of year, like this has to be the time of the year where it's windy. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, let's get to the news. Let's start with the Eagles first. Rashad Penny. Now, the guy's only played 18 games over the last 3 years. But the 1 year he played 10 games, he led the NFL in yards per attempt. So, Jeff, what are your thoughts on Rashad Penny, the Eagle?
I love his north-south running style. I think it's perfect for this offense. You put him behind this offensive line. Him, Kenny Gainwell, you draft the back. Maybe you bring back Boston Scott. I think Trey Sermon's going to get an opportunity there. But I just love it. I thought he was an ideal fit for them. I didn't know if they would go cheaper in that route, but I feel like they kind of have to based on what I've been hearing about James Bradbury and CJ Gardner-Johnson. It seems like they're the priority right now as their big-ticket free agents, and it kind of makes sense.
All right, so we'll get to those guys in just a bit, but I want to focus on a running back here for a second here with you. So, Penny is in. Do we assume Miles Sanders is out, or is there still a chance that Sanders is part of this running back room this upcoming season?
Miles Sanders is out, Josh. I don't know if you saw, it might have been during the commercial break, it might not, but Miles Sanders basically tweeted his thank you to the Phillies. So I think Miles Sanders is out. I think the Eagles don't go get your bag, go get the money you well deserve. Some team is going to get a really good player in Miles Sanders.
All right, so let me ask this, because I have heard not one, not two, but 3 different people who cover the NFL, like, John McMullen, Adam Caplan. They both said it today. I heard them mention on NFL Network last night. TJ Edwards, Marcus Epps, they got less than people expected. Is that going to happen to Miles Sanders too? Is there a possibility he doesn't get the max dollar in the market?
I don't think he's getting $10 million a year, and he's been a top 8, top 10 running back, which is what they get paid. And I don't think he's getting that. I think it's going to be about $7-8 million. I agree with Fab Caplan 100%. I did not expect TJ Edwards to sign for that little what he signed for. But again, TJ Edwards has never made that type of money before. So I think you're Edwards. You had a chance to go to Chicago where you grew up. I think you take that opportunity. And I don't think Rashad Penny's going to get paid that much to be an Eagle. I think it's going to be an incentive-laden deal, and I think that's a good deal for them. And I still think the Eagles are going to be in the market to improve that offense and just alter it a bit. So you got Miles Sanders in there. Maybe, Josh, maybe they improve the number 3 wide receiver position, but we'll see.
Well, speaking of, he's a running back, but he gets a lot of catches, is J.D. McKissick. He was just released by Washington. Is that a guy the Eagles should, maybe scratch the itch on?
Maybe. That one's tough because I feel like you can get that type of player. You can draft them. And I think they're going to have draft picks to use. I know someone said, boy, Bijan Robinson would look great in an Eagles uniform. I'm like, yeah, and so would Bryce Young, and so would everybody else. It's one of those, like, I don't think it takes him out of a running for a potential Bijan Robinson draft pick, but do you really want to use a draft pick on Bijan Robinson when you have a chance to improve your defensive line? You have a chance to get someone young in your secondary. And again, we still don't know fully about James Bradberry, about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So I still think this is just one piece to the puzzle. But I think this is a piece that the Eagles said, you know what, let's jump on this running back class and let's jump on it now. We have a chance to get a good player like Rashad Penny. And let's face it, if he stays healthy, this is going to be a huge deal for him.
Now, obviously, Kazir White, he's going to the Cardinals. We have Marcus Epps going to the Raiders. Edwards is going to the Bears. Javon Hargrave is going to the 49ers. Jeff Kerr, here's my question for you. How many of these guys leaving was them leaving in free agency just because the market is where it is? And how much of it was Sean Desai sitting down with the Eagles and saying some of these guys are replaceable?
I think it's both. If you want to cop out, I think it is both. I think Sean Desai said, you know what, how much do we really want to pay these guys? Because the Eagles have proven we're not paying big money for an off-ball linebacker and the Mike linebacker, especially when you got one of them in the Kobe Dean. So you got him, you got to play him. Like, everybody seems to forget this. They drafted Jordan Davis, you drafted Kobe Dean. You can't go on Twitter and complain, why isn't Jordan Davis playing? Why isn't the Kobe Dean playing? And then you get rid of Javon Hargrave, TJ, and I think they wanted to keep Javon Hargrave. I just think the price was too much. And when you're trying to keep a CJ Gardner-Johnson or a James Bradberry, you got to make some sacrifices, right? So I think it's more the Eagles saying, we can replace these guys in the draft. And look, this is what the smart teams do. They draft players or they make good free agent signings, so then you're not overpaying them, and then you kind of restock the cupboard. That's what I think they're doing.
So then how much of this is, hey, we are focusing solely on CJ Gardner-Johnson, James Bradberry. That's our focus. And that's why, we're, for lack of a term, consolidating the money here.
Oh, I definitely think that's the case. So yesterday, probably around 12:10, 12:15, I got enough confirmation to say the Eagles were making the push to re-sign CJ Gardner-Johnson. Everybody's like, well, you got anything else on that? I'm like, well, no, that's what they're doing. Like, he's gauging his market, and he has every right to. He's the best safety right now. James Bradberry is going to set the market for cornerbacks. They're going to take their time here. And look, I haven't tweeted this yet. I probably will at some point, but I do know the Eagles reached out to James Bradberry this morning. I don't know how much further you want in that, but that's what I was told. So again, the Eagles are doing their part here. They're reaching out to them. And from what I was told, this was from a couple of their free agents. Isaac Samuel was one of them. Gardner Minshew was one of them. Come out, gauge your market, come back to us. Please come back to us and, let us match it. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case with Sayamalo anymore. Gardner Minshew, maybe, but there's interest in Jacoby Brissett. So again, TJ Edwards was one of those guys, come back to us. Maybe the Eagles said, you know what, we're not going to pay you $6.5 million a year. I think that's what it ended up being. I'm not trying to remember his deal, but I'm sure they've been in constant communication with James Bradbury, with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Then, is it possible they could bring them all back? Maybe. I don't know. I think it's going to be a combination of Slay, Bradbury, Slay, Gardner-Johnson, Bradbury. I don't think they're going to keep all three, but if they did, wouldn't you like their Super Bowl chances, Josh?
Certainly. But I think that part of my wondering is also, you saw a bunch of safety just pop off the market yesterday, right? Von Bell, Jeremy Bates, even Epps, just like bang, 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 guys popping off the market. And then it was just like quiet. How is that impacting maybe CJ Gardner-Johnson's market? Is there maybe the idea that, hey, these guys came off the board so quickly and you're still sitting there?
It's funny because the people I've talked to regarding Gardner-Johnson, they thought maybe he'd get about 12, 13 million. I don't know if that's the case anymore. And I think, I'm not saying like Gardner-Johnson would accept that, but maybe he can get the 14 million that would have happened if the Eagles would have franchise tagged him, but just for a long-term deal. I think that's what he's searching for. Now, I will say this. You know how yesterday the Bengals players were tweeting at him? I was told don't look too much into that. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just a free agent. I still think these players like to mess with people. I really do.
I agree, yeah. The other thing is that we had somebody texting earlier about maybe the Jets should go get CJ Gardner-Johnson to pair with Chuck Clark. And I said, here's the problem with CJ. Saints are one defense. The Eagles are another defense. And the Jets are another defense. And the Bengals are another defense. Like, at what point does a guy be like, how many defenses do we got to change to be able to keep the same production?
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. I was told this from a really trusted source in Cincinnati. Jesse Bates was not coming back there. And they just don't want to pay big money for a safety. They wanted to pay him, but I think he set the market, and they knew that. And you got to pay Joe Burrow, you got to pay Jamar Chase, you got to pay your core guys. And I think Jesse Bates is part of that core, but you got to make some sacrifices here. And look, they re-signed Michael Thomas, who can start. They got to play Dax Hill at some point. So maybe that's their internal roster there. So again, that was their first round pick last year. So I think that's how they're looking at it. And again, I think Eagles could do that with Reed Blankenship, but I think they know Gardner-Johnson is valuable as a quarterback and as a safety, and he seems to like it in Philadelphia. He seems to like the atmosphere, likes the fan base. Again, I feel like he's one of those guys who could do no wrong right now, right? So why not? And I think the Eagles do listen to Darius Slay quite a bit, even though who knows what's going to happen with him. I really don't have a clue. But
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to get to that next. Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, joining us here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Explain to me your take on the Slay situation, because here's my question. And maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but I've seen Cam Jordan renegotiate his deal. I'm seeing all these guys around the league restructure. Josh Allen restructured his deal, for goodness sake, today. Like, all these guys restructured. What is stopping Slay from just saying, hey, just rework my deal if I want to be here? Like, Slay says he wants to be here. So it's what's the holdup?
I think Slay wants an extension, and I think the Eagles told him, well, we're not really sure about that. I don't think he's a declining player. I think he's still good, but are you committing to him past this year? I don't think the Eagles really want to do that. I think they want to restructure his deal and just take the dead cap money, and then they'll reevaluate it after the season. Look, he's a good guy. Like, I like him. I think he's a good fit here, but you're right. Don't you think it's funky he hasn't restructured his deal? I think he wants an extension. Again, maybe I'm putting words in his mouth. Maybe not. I could be dead wrong here, but I said Darius Slay's biggest asset is his worst enemy, Twitter. Does he really need to call people out because someone thought he was a declining player?
It's like Jeff. It's like Lamar putting out there 3 years, 133 guaranteed. Who needs an agent? Like, dude, just shut up. Stop tweeting.
No, you know why you need an agent? To tell you to stop tweeting.
That.
That's why you need an agent. I'm telling you. Josh, you know this. A lot of these players, there's a reason why they're not vocal at all. They're told, don't do anything stupid. Every single blog will write about you, whether it's good or bad. And like Darius Slay, I know what he was trying to do. Whoever it was that said he was declining, I don't know. I don't read other people's tweets. You know, it was clear he wanted people to attack him. He was Queen Bee telling her throne, go get him. That's the enemy.
Jeff, you know what it is? It's Kevin Durant syndrome. It's all these guys, they spend too much time on Twitter. It's like Kyrie spending too much time on Twitch.
And I think Slay's really good on Twitter, too. I think he uses it for good, but you can't get upset when someone criticizes you.
Well, maybe he needs to take some tips from his wife because his wife is better on social media than he is. But
his wife is really good on social media. I don't follow her at all, but it seems like she, honestly, between the two of them, I think they do get it.
All right, I want to hit a couple of news items that just came in, Jeff. So Boston Scott is re-signing with the Eagles, according to Tom Pelissero. So it looks like your running back room is confirmed. Gainwell, Penny, Scott, Sermon, Jeff Kerr. Is that good enough?
Yes, I think it is. I think if you get a draft pick in there too, yes, I think Trey Sermon will have a chance to compete for a job. And you had McMullen on earlier. I didn't get to listen to him, but I think they broke the Penny news. Maybe so. See,
yep.
You know what I was doing when Rashad Penny signed? I was watching Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That's what I was doing. So that interrupted me, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, that's just me, Josh. I'm a Marvel guy. I need the break. So anyway, but yeah, it's knowing John. He probably said right off the bat, Boston Scott's coming back.
He did, yes.
So yeah, John McMullen knows all. Just so you know, if you ever have any questions about life or the Eagles, just ask John McMullen.
Well, my favorite did John McMullen ever tell you, for those of you who listen to the station regularly know John McMullen's Michael Bennett story. Have you ever heard that about how him and Michael Bennett used to have like these super long conversations in the locker room?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I'll tell you what, I wasn't around when John McMullen used to have long conversations with Bennett, but I'll tell you what, another Eagles writer, Bob Groats, it's so funny. Like, he'll always make a joke about, oh, see, Bradbury gave up this. Oh, Bradbury. Everybody thinks Bob Groats is like the biggest James Bradbury hater. And what do I do when I'm walking and going to see James Bradbury? There they are, chummy, Bob Groats and James Bradbury. I'm like, what a farce, man. Twitter and reality are just completely different.
It's so true. The other news that just came out, Stephon Gilmore is coming to the NFC East. He has been traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a 5th round pick. Jeff Kerr, your thoughts?
Good move. The Cowboys needed that. They really did. Like, the Cowboys are big in free agency, but they seem to gauge the players they want and they get them. And look, I think that's worth it, honestly. Like, and again, this is why I don't think Darius Slay's going anywhere. One, you're not getting the value for him. Two, it doesn't make sense from a cap standpoint. You know, it's pretty much like, and I agree with Darius Slay. If you want to restructure, you don't have to. That's your right as a player. You're kind of stuck.
I know. It's just, I look at other guys swallowing their egos. Like Bosa restructured his deal, right? Like, these guys are out there restructuring their deals. And it's like, all right, look, you got a $17 million base salary next year. You're telling me both sides can't come to some agreement that turn that 1 year into a 2-year thing and like spread out $22 million over the 2 years? Like,
this is where I'll add, and again, not a criticism, but why do you think it took him 10 years to be a team captain? Think about that.
See, you know what? This gets back to my Aaron Rodgers thing I said in the last hour. You weren't here for it, Jeff. I was saying with Rodgers, I feel like because of today's world, we don't really know people sometimes. And it's like you remember Dave Chappelle's show, scene where, you know, the hater of the year, and before the guy goes, hate, you know, they're chanting hate. Like, I feel like that's social media today. And it's like, is Aaron Rodgers really that bad of a guy? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he is. I just think social media doesn't like the guy. You know what I mean? I feel like
I will say this. It is going to be ironic. Mr. 9/11 conspiracy theory, Aaron Rodgers, is going to be playing in New York.
There is some irony there.
You remember that story? I feel like people forget, like, Deshaun Kaiser kind of spilled the beans on there. And I still think Aaron Rodgers messes with people, too.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is high half the time. He just likes to say stuff. That's what
Yeah.
my theory. But
so back when the whole vaccination thing came out, when he said he was immunized, I'm one of those people, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, and I didn't make a big deal out of it because it ain't my job to go out here and rip players. But I'm like, just say it. Like, I'm immunized. I'm like, he's trying to outsmart people. I would love to see him get the Jeopardy gig.
listen, I think that's why I brought up Roger with Slay. Like, how much of what goes on with Slay's career has been perception versus reality? You know what I mean? Like it's not like there's a bunch of guys coming out there and saying how Slay was a jerk to me. You know what I mean? Like,
he's not a jerk. That's the irony of it. Like, he owes his time. It's like, even after a Super Bowl, like, no, did he talk to people? No, he was upset there with the law, but like, he saw some people he knew, and I was one of them. He waved. Like, hey, he didn't have to do that. It's just the type of person he is. I just feel like, he's a good dude. Like, but I always say this too. Like, I know it took him a while to be a captain, but some people just aren't meant to lead. I mean, I'm not saying he's one of those guys, but it is kind of interesting how it took him 10 years to become a captain, especially in Detroit, right?
Yeah.
You would figure he'd be a leader there.
But Detroit's a mess before Dan Campbell got there. You know what I mean?
It is true.
Like,
by the way, Dan Campbell is one of my favorite people on this planet.
Listen, Dan Campbell made a franchise that was an embarrassment for about 2 decades into respectable and almost a playoff team. Like, that guy in who's the GM in Detroit again? I forget his name.
Brad Holmes.
Yeah, Holmes has done a great job. I remember they were celebrating when they drafted Penei Sewell. Like, I got to give Mike credit. Mike Gill brought this up before. Like, the fact that the Detroit Lions celebrated drafting offensive linemen shows the culture has changed. Like, it's so incredible. But back to Slay. So, do you think Slay is an Eagle next year? Do you think they figure this out?
Yeah, I do. I think he'll be an Eagle next year. I don't know how they'll figure it out, but I got to give Slay a ton of credit in the world. I think he wants to be here. I think the Eagles want him to be here. I think he comes back. I think he has a big year. I know a lot of people like to rip on him for the second half of the year. And again, it wasn't Darius Slay-like, but I look at the whole body of work. Yeah, really.
Here's my problem with that narrative. Those games, the PFF, the last 9 games of the year or whatever their rating was, how many of those games was C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Avonte Maddox out there?
Thank you. I said, yeah, okay, now let's give him C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. Let's give him Avonte Maddox back. Yeah, it all of a sudden looks pretty good. Like, Darius Slay was the best cornerback in football the first half of the year, and James Bradbury is right there with him. That's how good he was. And look, he's a top. I will listen to NFL players on who top 5, top 10 cornerbacks are. Darius Slay is definitely one.
Your thoughts on Darren Waller, now a New York Giant?
They need more. That's a great start. And again, it's like Rashad Penny. If he's healthy, that is one heck of a move. It really is. I like it. Daniel Jones had the 8th highest passer rating targeting tight ends last year. Here's the problem. He was 31st in attempts at tight ends because he didn't have any. now he has one. So I think that's a good start. I do think they should bring Darius Slayton back. I think they should bring Richie James back and maybe try to add someone else in there. But who do you add? Like, I think they were smart not overpaying Jacoby Myers and I love Jacoby Myers. I think he's a really good player. But Alan Lazard, he's off the board now. Who do you go to? Juju? Like, there really isn't anyone to get unless you trade for him.
Well, I was going to say the Broncos are reportedly listening to offers for all of their guys, but they won't give them up for just anything.
Yeah, so, what are we doing? Well, you know why? Because they know that probably their guys are better than anybody that's on the market right now.
Right.
Like, here's the thing. Say the Ravens bring Lamar back. Who are you giving them? This is a bad year to be a receiver in the free. Well, it's a great year for Juju. It's a great year for Alan Lazard, but it's a bad play. Like, again, this is what I tell people. Outside of Javon Hargrave going to the 49ers, you give me a move yesterday that says this team is instantly better and they're going to compete for a Super Bowl. None. This is such an underwhelming class. I don't think people understand that. Like, there's a reason why the Eagles aren't active.
Listen, I was talking with Rob Motti yesterday. He said the 49ers are an example of the rich getting richer, basically. Like, that's the Hargrave move in many ways. You're not going to tell me that the Bears are going to be a Super Bowl champion all of a sudden. They got a lot of work to do with that roster over the next 2 years. But here's the funny thing. Is Josh McDaniels the most cold guy on earth? Like, Darren Waller literally just got married last week. He's on his honeymoon, and it's traded to the Giants for a 3rd-round pick.
Josh McDaniels is the worst coach in the NFL. He is the worst coach. He should not have another job, and he has one. I am not a Dennis Allen fan in the slightest here in New Orleans. I don't think he should have a job either, but I think Dennis Allen can win. I think they're building a team where he can win. Josh McDaniels is ruining them. And I like the Garoppolo son. I like Jacoby Myers. I like what he's doing. I just don't think he's a good head coach, period.
It's so weird because it's like that guy almost was the Colts coach, and he backed out.
He almost was the Eagles coach.
It's like I don't understand. Like, is that guy like some amazing interview? Like, he is like, is he the antithesis of Eric Bieniemy? Like, the rumors are that Bieniemy is not a great interview. Is Josh McDaniels like the greatest interview in the world? Is that what it is?
So I am Eric Bieniemy's biggest defender here, right? When he had his introductory press conference with the Commanders, and I've interviewed Eric Bieniemy at the Super Bowl. I talked to people who know Eric Bieniemy very well. I'm like, I'm sorry, it is absolute utter you know what that Eric Bieniemy is a bad interview. You tell me why Eric Bieniemy can't get a head coaching job and Josh McDaniels has a job. I don't get it. Like, what was 5-20 not good enough the first time? Like, I don't know. I can't stand these reclamation projects, Josh. I can't. Like, if you're bad, you're bad. Bottom line. And there are so many coaches out there that deserve opportunities. They really, like, Frank Reich getting a second chance, I'm fine with that. He had a winning record. He was fun. Compared to, but Josh McDaniels, like Dennis Allen, guys like that, I'm like, you mean to tell me that I don't know, like D'Amico Ryans couldn't get a job last year?
Well, here's my biggest beef, okay, and I'll say we'll hit on this before I let you go, Jeff. I've been saying for years the fact that Deuce Staley's not a head coach in this league is ridiculous to me.
It's a joke. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves him.
To me, a head coach is a leader of men. He's not the smartest guy in the room like Chip Kelly, right? He's not the most, greatest resume in the world. Like, guys who have won championships. Like, before Parcells and Bill Walsh won championships, they were just whatever dudes. But then they won championships and they became the dude, right? Like, people don't realize that Doug Peterson was in the Eagles' first, second, or third choice to be head coach.
Choice.
Yeah, something like that. Like, because I remember it was like they wanted to interview Ben McAdoo, Adam Gase, Tom Coughlin. Like, I forget who the fourth guy was off the top of my head, but like they were interviewing everyone else. And then Doug Peterson was, oh, by the way. So, like, this idea that a guy like Deuce Staley doesn't have a job yet, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I just feel like you said, like, I just think some of these owners are just, they want to be, maybe you can answer this question better than me and I'll let you go, Jeff.
They want to be smarter than the average bear?
No, they want to be smarter than Jeff Lurie. They look at Jeff Lurie and they're like, this guy found Andy Reid, Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni. He got one wrong. That was Chip Kelly. And they look at Jerry Jones.
And here's the thing. Did he get it wrong, though? Because he was 2012.
He got it wrong.
I'm not a Chip Kelly fan, but yeah.
I guarantee you, if they would have hired Bruce Arians, Doug Peterson would have never been head coach.
Oh, I agree. And here's the thing. I like Bruce Arians, too. I like Bruce a lot. But Bruce, to me, is a guy who thinks he's right all the time, too. Like, I don't think he realizes sometimes he recruited Tom Brady to get a Super Bowl. What happened when the wheels kind of fell off a bit? Like, I'm just saying. Like, I mean, who would you rather have as a head coach? Andy Reid or Bruce Arians?
Andy Reid.
Yeah. Who would you rather have as a head coach? Andy Reid or Bill Belichick?
That's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. Like, I still think Bill... I think Bill O'Brien's going to help that franchise a lot, by the way. I don't know.
Agree.
I don't know if Bill's ever going to win our Super Bowl, but I don't think his legacy should be tainted. Now, if someone wanted... And I'm pro Andy Reid, anti Bill Belichick, but Andy Reid needs about like one or two more to even be really, really in that conversation.
To me, I think Belichick, he has been unlucky at times because He got the Browns to the postseason, and then the next year they leave town. Basically, he gets fired and they go to Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, he had Brady for all those years, but the year Matt Castle won 11 games, they didn't make the postseason. Under today's format, they make the postseason. How does that change maybe his legacy? I have no idea. I just think Belichick, he just hadn't, the dice haven't always hit for him each time. So, whereas Andy Reid, I think Reid, he evolved so much from Philadelphia to Kansas City. I think him leaving the Eagles helped him more than it hurt him.
I think that's the thing. I think Andy Reid is way better at evolving and setting the trend than Belichick. Like, Belichick will always be a great defensive coach. We'll never doubt that. But unfortunately, I think the NFL is trending toward offense, and that's just not his forte, and that's fine. Bill Belichick is going to get his teams to the playoffs because of their defense. Like, them re-signing Jonathan Jones was tremendous. But look at the offensive side of the ball. Nelson Aguilar, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry.
Well, Jonnu Smith's a Falcon now.
Oh, yeah,
remember?
I know, but I'm talking about last year. I'm talking about last year here. Like, but outside of Ramondre Stevenson, I'm like, I hate this offense. And then you have Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to the mix. I said, no wonder why Mac Jones don't want to talk to people.
But you know what? Andy Reid put Juan Castillo, the way he did with him. So I mean,
yeah. I still say sometimes these guys have a grand plan to get out, and that might be it. If I make some moves that's completely ridiculous, it might actually get me fired. I doubt Andy was. It's a shame. 2012 being Andy Reid's last year was really a shame from the start of the year to the end.
All right, I gotta go. Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, at Jeff Kerr CBS on Twitter. I'm way past the commercial break time here, but it was just too much good conversation. So,
oh, you know what? That's what happens when you get me on. I don't know. I'll shut up.
It's all good. I appreciate you jumping on today, Jeff.
Yeah. I guess I won't see you Thursday, right, Josh?
Thursday's tournament all day and all night. So I'll talk to you next Tuesday.
All right, I'll see you next Tuesday then. I hope Mike Gill's having a good time in Florida, by the way.
Listen, I guarantee you Mike Gill is going to be so happy with his time in Florida when he comes back. Day one, he's going to be like, I miss being on vacation.
I hung out with Mike Gill at the Super Bowl. I know that guy knows how to have a good time. I'll say that.
Jeff, take care of yourself.
I'll see you, Josh.
Josh Hennig filling in for the aforementioned Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. We'll check back on the text board next, 609-403-0973, and your DMs in the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Dazzling decal on Daisy's Donuts window. Bold banner at Barry's Barbershop. Prominent poster at Penny's on Park Place.
This is your sign, well, signs, to try Staples and see the difference. Get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more.
From Staples, and I couldn't miss it.
Ends 4/15. Visit staplesconnect.com/printbig for details.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. But not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Searching for fun ways to spend your tax return? Boats for cats. Oh, flotation devices for cats. Don't waste it all on something silly. Spend smarter with Straight Talk. Get our Silver Unlimited plan for $45 a month with unlimited high-speed data and with nationwide 5G. Plus, get a Samsung A13 5G for only $99.99, down from $149. If you're looking to get the most out of your refund, your search ends here. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See latest terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Did you know Nissan EVs have traveled 8 billion miles? Just a quick trip to Pluto and back. And what did we learn along the way? Well, that an EV can take on the world, like the Nissan Leaf. It can move racing forward and take your breath away, like the all-new Nissan Ariya. we learned to make EVs that electrify. 8 billion miles driven by Leaf owners globally since 2010. 2023 Aria has limited availability. All-wheel drive expected availability early 2023, subject to change.
Let's see. There's the business plan, vendors and inventory, licenses and applications, logos and signage, hired staff. Wait, what am I forgetting?
The most important piece of the puzzle in business is your marketing. And if you don't tell people about your business, how would they know it exists? And these days, that marketing has to include your online presence. Before anyone walks through the door or fills their cart with your products, they've already checked you out online. So what did they find when they searched for you? Did you show up first? Does your website make a great first impression? Is it up to date? Chances are you don't know the first thing about web design or SEO, and that's okay. Town Square South Jersey has the solution. It's simple, fast, affordable, and it's free to check out. Just go to townsquarelocal.com. You can even see how many local customers in South Jersey are looking for products and services like yours. Let us help you get people through the door so you can concentrate on making them return customers. Just go to townsquarelocal.com.
Breaking news.
Tax refund shock is everywhere, but what is it?
My tax refund shrank.
Mine too. The culprit? Pandemic-related stimulus payments and tax credits expiring. In this reporter's opinion, you need a tax expert.
Hey guys, Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest refund.
And tax prep is 50% off? Going there now.
50% off is a limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center update, brought to you by Bet365. Download the app today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Philadelphia Eagles have found a new running back for next season, Rashad Penny. He spent the last few seasons in Seattle. His last healthy season was in 2021 when he led the NFL with 6.3 yards per attempt. He is currently recovering from a broken fibula he sustained in Week 5 of last season. The Flyers return to the ice tonight when they are home and host the Vegas Golden Knights. Listen to the game on our sister station, Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 app at 7 p.m. Catch the first two games of the NCAA men's basketball tournament with coverage beginning at 6:30 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN, your radio home for March Madness in South Jersey. Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers on our app. Your forecast is next.
Hi, honey. Happy first day back at work. Can't wait to see you tonight. We are so proud of you.
Daddy, we love you.
There are many reasons to start recovery. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, we are here to help. Call us. Our trained counselors are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help. Your recovery is within reach. Call 844-REACH-NJ to learn about medication that can support your recovery. A message from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The wicked wind will continue to whip tonight, even as our snow shower chance comes to an end. Occasional gust of 40 miles an hour expected for the next 24 hours or so. Skies will clear overnight, low temperature around 32 degrees. No hard freeze, but definitely cold and blustery. Mostly sunny and windy tomorrow, high of 50. Thursday looks good. Partly sunny, calm and dry, high 56. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
This hour brought to you by Xfinity.
Everything is changing so fast. Back in my day, we were lucky if we could get one video to load. But now with the Xfinity 10G network, you can power a house full of devices at once with ultra low lag. The future starts now. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.
Get ready for the madness. March Madness is coming to 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM. Little distracted coming back from the break. because we got some breaking news that just happened during the commercial break. Not the best timing in the world going to that commercial break, but Eagles cornerback James Bradbury is returning to Philadelphia. 3-year deal, $20 million fully guaranteed, $6 million in incentives. The total package is worth $44 million. So really, when you break it down, Bradbury is getting a baseline of $7 million per year on this deal. This is interesting because let's get into this for a second. So the Cowboys just traded for Stephon Gilmore. The Eagles kept Bradbury. No more Epps, no more TJ Edwards, no more Javon Hargrave, no more Kazir White. So this is basically what I was telling you guys before. The Eagles chose to keep Bradbury over the other guys. And Paul from Delaware texts in, big Eagles win, Bradbury re-signing. It's from Paul in Delaware. Yeah, it's a big deal because I think the Eagles are being honest with themselves. And I'll be honest about it from the beginning. I've been telling you guys for a long time, this franchise does not have a great history of drafting and developing corners and safeties in the last 13 years. The last corners and safeties organization got was early in the Andy Reid era. You're talking about Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown. Before that, Troy Vincent and Bobby Taylor. Brian Dawkins. Quentin Michael wasn't even a high draft pick or anything. Most of the guys the Eagles have got successfully in the last 15, 20 years, they've all been either undrafted free agents, late round draft picks, or trades. Sante Samuel wasn't the Eagles draft pick. They had to go out and get him. I think that a huge part of this is I think the organization realizes that they are not going to find a cornerback better than the guy they already got. I think it's that simple. I think it's as simple as you realize that Bradbury is worth it. And I hope this means that CJ Garner-Johnson is next. And as Jeff Kerr said, he thinks that Slay stays. Look, if you go in the next year with CJ, Bradbury, and Slay, I think that you are going to be all right without TJ Edwards, Javon Hargrave, Kazir White, Marcus Epps. For two reasons. One, because you developed Epps and Edwards into what they became. So you can argue that you don't need those guys. They're not elite talent. This organization has been very good at drafting D linemen and finding D linemen. So listen, Hargrave was not Hargrave when he left the Steelers. He became that here in Philadelphia. So for Philadelphia, maybe their perspective is simple as, hey, we can replace Hargrave. We can replace TJ Edwards, Kazir White, Marcus Epps. We can't replace Bradbury. And I feel like that's a huge part of this contract. And frankly, look, for a guy to only have $20 million guaranteed, and he was an all-pro this year, I mean, what was the market for him? This is what I mean. I've heard now, everyone keeps telling me, well, Epps and Edwards got less than I expected in free agency. Well, Kazir White only got 2 years from Arizona. Like you heard earlier in the Sports Bash today, we heard that apparently NFL teams basically laughed at what Epps was asking for. Did Bradbury go on the market and realize that nobody is giving him crazy money? Certainly possible. I think the Eagles got Bradbury at a very economical price. It's not per se a hometown discount, but I think it's economical. So big news, James Bradbury back with the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles now have re-signed 2 players today and added a 3rd player. So earlier this hour, the news came out they re-signed Boston Scott. Now they've re-signed James Bradbury. They've brought in Rashad Penny, and according to everyone we've had on the show today, Penny replaces Miles Sanders. Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports, Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, and John McMullen from JAKIB Media. They all said the same thing. Penny is here to replace Miles Sanders. You got to look at Bradbury now as maybe the next domino for the Philadelphia. Maybe it's just as simple as they were waiting out the market. You know, Howie Roseman has done this in the past, where he has gone out of his way to let the market play out and then make his move. This could have been as simple as Howie telling James Bradbury, look, here's the number. If you find a better number, more power to you. It may just be that simple. And Bradbury came back and said, I can't find a better number. And the Eagles said, well, why should we wait? Let's get the deal done. I think the other part of this conversation is Adam Schefter is reporting that there's $6 million in incentives added to this deal. This is a 3-year deal. So that means there's $2 million of incentives each season added to this deal. So this is probably more likely to be a contract where when you add it all up, Bradbury's probably going to make $9 million a year. For an all-pro corner, that's a pretty darn good deal. And the fact that he couldn't find better elsewhere, or at least elsewhere he wanted to go. As I told Jeff Kerr earlier, maybe part of this is guys looking around being like, I don't want to play in something that's completely different than what I'm used to. All right, we'll wrap up the show with your text. I see text coming in at 609-403-0973. Jeff in Ocean City, he's happy. Paul in Delaware, he's happy. What are your thoughts? I'll get your text on the other side. Wrap up the 5 o'clock hour. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
The madness is coming.
For the win!
March Madness begins March 17th on 97.3 ESPN.
Imagine all the possibilities of a $229 million Mega Millions win. You could buy your forever home, buy a new luxury car, plus one for all your friends and family. It's just that many millions. Anything can happen in Jersey. Get in on all the action throughout the month of March with Madness Zone at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort. Take in the college basketball tournament with a panoramic view of all the games, a beverage in your hand, a bet placed on your favorite team, and an atmosphere like no other. Watch, bet, eat, and drink all tournament long at the Gallery Bar Booking Games in Ocean Casino Resort. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Everyone loves TV Dad.
On the next TV Dad, presented by Progressive, TV Dad explains becoming a man.
Son, it's time we had to talk.
Okay, TV Dad.
You know, drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds.
Oh, is that why my voice is changing?
That's a question for your health teacher.
Listen to your TV Dad. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
Nature Valley Crunchy Bars are the snack for out there. You know, the place where you hear sounds like this. And this. Oh, and this. Nature Valley. Life happens out there.
Get ready because Scott's is taking over daylight saving time. It's such a big event that we're calling it day-long saving time. And now it's got real savings. In fact, it's the biggest deals of the year. Audacious Absolutely. So don't wait. Stock up early and you'll be able to save up to $20 on Scott's Triple Action and Easy Seed products today at the Home Depot and Lowe's. Offers available March 9th through 22nd at select U.S. stores while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See store for exact offers.
In order for small businesses to thrive, they need to be smart, efficient, agile, staying ahead of the market at every turn, and finding ways to do more with less. That's never been more important than it is right now. So for a limited time, Comcast Business is introducing Small Business Savings, a deal for companies across the country. When you call in now, you can get powerful internet for just $39 a month for 12 months. $39 a month. With no annual contract and a money-back guarantee. All on the largest, fastest, reliable network for small businesses. With the company that powers more businesses than anyone else. So if you're a small business owner, don't wait. Call and get started today. Comcast Business. Powering possibilities.
Offer ends 3/21/23. Restrictions apply. New Comcast Business 50 megabits per second internet customers only. Requires EcoBill and AutoPay. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra and subject to change. Call or go online for details. After promo, regular rates apply.
What do you mean he went searching for fresher powder? We have full classes today.
Instructor down at Vesper Ski School.
Toward each other to snowplow, honey, not away.
She needs more ski instructors to slalom through the day-to-day.
Pizza, fries. Whoa, Braley, no, pizza.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-9336. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-444-9336. 800-444-9336.
You're invited to enjoy 50% off your purchase during the semi-annual Friends and Family event only at Banana Republic Factory. Shop this week only for limited time prices at your nearest Banana Republic Factory store or online.
Your luxury BMW experience is closer than you think. Take advantage of exceptional savings at BMW of Atlantic City. Stop in and shop your favorite models, including the new BMW 2 Series, X3, and more. We're sure to have a vehicle that fits your needs. And with Acceleride, purchase your vehicle online and we'll deliver it directly to you. Looking to trade? We'll pay top dollar for your current vehicle. Experience luxury today at BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think. In Egg Harbor Township, shop our complete inventory online at bmwatlanticcity.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
All right, a couple more texts to get in here before we get out of here. Josh Hennig, 4-hour tour today. I'll be back for another 4 hours tomorrow, and then the madness begins Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 12 noon to 12 midnight. All the games all day long here in your home for the NCAA tournament in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. First four coming up at 6:30 tonight is the coverage. Again, the news that came out, James Bradbury, he is an Eagle. Again, only $20 million guaranteed. Again, still a little surprised about that number, but again, it seems like there's a common theme that a lot of these guys are not getting the money they thought they would in free agency. So it's a bit of an interesting reshuffling of the deck. Cole from LBI chimes in, I bet the Eagles will draft a D lineman or even trade up a few picks so they can get Jalen Carter if he falls a few spots. Here's the thing, Cole. I'm conflicted on that because on one hand, I do think that them getting Jalen Carter is a strong possibility. Just don't see them trading up because I think that Howie Roseman would rather get more picks than lose picks. Hal chimes in from Delaware, says, I don't understand why the Raiders organization is so interested in popular past coaches who have never proven themselves. John Gruden for 2 years. Rich Bisaccia, they got them to the postseason. Derek Carr played well. They got Josh McDaniels, which is like having another Gruden to me. I just don't get it. The organization is cursed. That's from Hal in Wilmington, Delaware. Yeah, man, the whole way the Raiders organization has been run, I feel like Mark Davis is just trying too hard sometimes. I really do. I want to get this text before I get out of here. Anonymous texter didn't leave their name, but I think it's still a good point. It says that the mainstream sports media as a whole is bitter towards Rodgers because of his vaccination stance. Yeah, Jeff Kerr mentioned that in this past hour. The fact that the way Rodgers said it was it was manipulative, the way he said it. Look, guys like Rodgers and Kyrie, they're always going to be treated in a certain way because they didn't follow the crowd. They didn't do what everyone else did. Look, at the end of the day, I think history 20, 30 years from now is going to tell a different story about what has been happening in sports over the last few years than what we've been living through. And I'll just leave it at that. I'm Josh Hennig. Sports Bash. Back tomorrow, 2 to 6. 97.3 ESPN. Have a great night.
Here's what you missed on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
What's your go-to on the pancake? Plain, strawberry, banana?
I'm more of a regular. I'm more of a regular short stack. I might flirt with like a banana pancake, strawberry pancakes every once in a while.
I think that might be too sweet. Blueberry pancakes is probably
the blueberry guy?
Yeah, I'm a blueberry guy because the bananas are always too sweet for some reason. And then strawberries fine, but the blueberries, when they're in the cake, not just on top, fire. Pancakes is fire, man.
I got a pancake. Give me a short stack alone. I don't need anything else.
And I'm a ham steak guy opposed to a bacon because the bacon at IHOP is like
a little undercooked something.
Oh, it's paper thin. It's just
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN. Brought to you by
Ocean Casino Resort. Get your game on at the Gallery Bar Book and Games in Ocean Casino Resort. Visit theoceanac.com.